Welcome, everybody. We are live in Mission, Texas, along the Rio Grande River here. We're taking a shot right now at the Texas Department of Highways public safety officers inside one of the patrol boats here along the border here of the U.S. and Mexico border. Good afternoon, everybody. Brian Glenn here. We are live for a press conference today that's scheduled at 1:30. John Cornyn and Ted Cruz, along with 17 other U.S. senators, are all here to talk about, of course, the border. That's been one of the greatest, biggest news stories as of lately, is the crisis here at the border, and a lot of it coming right through here in the state of Texas. Let me kind of show you what we're looking at here. We're at a park here in Mission, Texas. It is they've got this blocked off. This is where the senators will arrive here shortly, and of course they will get on these boats here and go for a brief tour of the border. And we're going to show you just for a second, if you can, Miles, pan over that way. That is Mexico, and it is obviously divided by the Rio Grande River here, and we are standing on the U.S. side. But that's gives you a good perspective of where we're at, how close everything is. And of course, driving in here yesterday, we saw numerous Border Patrol agents all up and down this area. A huge presence, obviously, with a lot of influx of Central Americans coming up through Mexico and coming into our country. Joe Biden, of course, yesterday talked about immigration, the crisis, and yet he has still not visited any facility down here or anywhere these holding areas here in the U.S. And he has also said that Vice President Kamala Harris will be in charge of immigration and this addressing the crisis. But as of yet, none of them have been here. But today, Ted Cruz, John Cornyn are inviting 17 other U.S. senators to this facility, to this park here, to tour the border. And of course, they will be taking questions later about that. Let's walk over here and give you an idea of who's here. This is a big story now. You know, if you've watched the press conference yesterday, we were waiting for the border to come into the discussion there. About the crisis here at the border, not only here in Texas, but along the Arizona border, New Mexico. We have seen this become a huge story. And of course, a lot of these holding facilities are overcrowded right now. They are about 1,500% over capacity. A lot of these kids sleeping in very close quarters. And of course, as far as testing for coronavirus is something that they've been trying to stay on top of. But how can you test that many people coming in on a daily basis? It's very difficult. So of course, that has been a very huge concern in terms of health and also in terms of security. Now, we did see a lot of these immigrants that were coming up through these borders were taken to the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Center, located in Dallas, at a downtown convention center, to be housed there. Up to 3,000 of these teenage boys will be housed there, and then later found places to go, either distant families or people that will adopt them and take them in as a refugee. Let's take a look at the media that's here. I mean, my goodness, we've covered a lot of stuff, obviously outside of the White House, and a lot of things. A lot of topics that we cover. Sometimes the media is limited, and sometimes it seems like we're the only ones there sometimes covering the story. But that is not the case today. A lot of media here, a lot of attention. I'm seeing, of course, all the major medias here. Some of the Telemundo and some of the Hispanic stations here obviously are carrying this story as well. So just a big story. We're glad you're joining us. If you could, just share this broadcast. And there's a lot of discussion in terms of immigration and what is actually happening on the border and how serious this crisis is at this point. So it's important that we keep this dialogue going. So please share this broadcast, tag a friend, because today Ted Cruz, John Cornyn, and other senators will be talking about what should be done. What can we do to really turn this humanitarian crisis around and take care of some of these people coming into this country? And I think we can all agree that that we're all for legal immigration. And this is a country that was founded on immigrants. There's no doubt about that. But we definitely need to address the illegal immigration problem. And then, of course, President Trump at the time said there's a lot of bad guys coming in through our borders. It's just not all fine families. There's some gang members. There's drug dealers, and of course, the coyotes and the human trafficking has been in the news here lately, because that is the way these people are getting through Central America, coming up from Guatemala, coming up from Honduras, via these coyotes. It was reported they were making an estimate $4 million a day from trafficking people through our borders into facilities like this. Now, right now, if someone is apprehended coming across the border, they are taken into custody, and they have up to 72 hours that we can hold them before we release them into the U.S. And of course, that was something that President Trump stood against for the longest time, that why would we catch people coming across the border and let them just freely stay inside our country without prosecuting them from illegal immigration. But let me step aside again, let you see kind of what's going on behind me. Any moment now, we should be getting the senators arriving here. They will talk to the media briefly from what I've been told, and they will get on the boats and we'll go for this quick media tour and be able to actually come back and tell us what they have seen. Hey, I do want to make a special mention right now, and of course, cancel culture is alive and well. Unfortunately, our good friend Mike Lindell over at MyPillow.com has really stepped up, not only to fight for America and for freedom, but also fight for us as a conservative news outlet. So if you could please go to his website, MyPillow.com, Pillow.com, and go shop away and find some of those famous pillows, some of the Giza sheets, the dog beds, and find a gift and give it to a friend. You know, we said that's during the campaign season, that if you had somebody that was not a Trump fan, go buy them a My Pillow and say, you know what, here you go. Here's a My Pillow for you, courtesy of the great patriot Mike Lindell. But right now, go to the promo code RSBN at checkout, and you'll get up to 66% off on your entire order there at MyPillow.com. That's MyPillow.com. And get this, folks, a percentage of those sales goes back to help us do what we're doing right now when we're fighting for conservative values and we're bringing all this extra news content to you. So go to MyPillow.com right now. Do it right now before we get started. Put in the promo code RSBN at checkout and get up to 66% off. Speaking of Mike Lindell, I will be live in Minneapolis at the My Pillow factory there, bringing you a behind-the-scenes look of how they make those wonderful products. And Liz Willis will be with me as well. And so we're going to kick off this right here on right side, and I couldn't think of a better place to kick it off than the My Pillow factory there with Mike Lindell. Tuned for that. But right now we are live in Mission, Texas, awaiting Ted Cruz and John Cornyn and 17 other U.S. senators to get a behind-the-scenes at the border. And if you're just now joining us, this is what we're looking at. This is the Rio Grande River here. We've got some Border Patrol agents along with the Texas Department of Public Safety. They have boats, folks. They're just not those big blazers going up and down the freeway. They've got boats as well. So they're out here. They're going to provide, obviously, protection, and the senators will be getting on these boats. Now, I was hoping earlier that members of the media would be able to go on here as well. Simply, that's not the case due to the spatial issues that we have on these boats. And we have 17 senators, and of course, they've got security teams. So unfortunately, we won't be able to go on these boats, but we will bring you as much footage as we can here today from the dock here. And of course, at 2:30, they're expected to come back here and hold a brief press conference and kind of a roundtable and take some questions. And I know that, yesterday in Joe Biden's first ever press conference after 64 days in office, he did address the border security and he did address the humanitarian crisis that we have right now. Didn't offer any specific solutions, but maybe today these 17 senators here will have some ideas of how we can just make this a better situation to deal with, because we have thousands of people come across this border, and we've heard the stories of these young kids just being abandoned, left behind, and it's sad, and it's something that When you look at the video, the limited video that we've had so far inside these holding cages, because once again, media access has been prevented in those situations. I was in Dallas at the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center. Media is not allowed to even go near the convention center to show you the conditions inside there. So hopefully we can really turn the situation around. I think we all have a compassionate heart for these human beings trying to come over here. And we want to make sure that we do take care of them, but we do process them in a legal fashion. Now, President Biden has been under extremely scrutiny for encouraging illegals to come here from Central America, places like Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador. And actually, the president of El Salvador was on Tucker Carlson not too long ago, and he actually owned up to being responsible for really not creating an environment inside his country that people would stay. And that's one of the things that we should address, maybe not really the immigration of catching them and maybe border security, but the reason why these people are leaving these countries. And it's because of their economic and business situations and lack of security. The governments have failed the citizens of these countries to provide adequate an economy that someone can make a living. So they want to come to the U.S. and establish themselves and work hard. And of course, our country was built on immigrants, and I think that is something that we all need to remind ourselves about that. So it's a very different age now. We just need to make sure we address this immigration crisis from a good heart and a good perspective, and just a really I think common sense approach. Let me step aside. That is the area where we're expecting these senators to show up here momentarily to take a few questions from the media, I would think, and then of course get on these boats here and go for a quick ride up and down the Rio Grande here. And then of course, we drove in here shortly earlier this morning, and we saw it is amazing. Miles, let's see if we can get a shot. I know it's a good ways off, but there is through behind that green space there is a road, and that is basically where you come into this park and drive across. Now, we noticed there's some people that are they've got masks on, and I'm not talking about COVID mask. I'm talking about complete facial covering mask to hide their identity. But they are in this area. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know who they're waiting for. But when you come down here to this region, or in Arizona region, or anywhere else that borders Mexico, it is a very active situation, and we were quickly reminded why we're here at this time. And it's, we heard people say, people have been coming across the border forever. It just has escalated to a point that we can't accommodate as many people. And I did some research on that. And of course, under the Trump administration, border agents, the number of apprehensions on a daily basis, a monthly basis, and an annual basis were down big time from what it was under the Obama administration, and going further back, even under the Bush and Clinton days. So Trump has done amazing work with securing the border. And of course, the wall, that was one of his major campaign promises, was he was going to, quote, build that wall and make Mexico pay for it. And border cities up and down the coast here, or up and down the Rio Grande, really expressed the need for the border for the local communities, for the crime numbers going down, for people that are simply walking past some of the property here. There's a lot of ranching and farming along this border, and farmers often complained about people trespassing across their property, and really providing kind of I wouldn't say a local nuisance, but that was one of the words I did see in an article. But we need to make sure that our border is secure and these communities feel safe. Because if we have people being trafficked across the border, and we have no identification who they are, we don't know if they're the bad people that basically have come up to commit crimes, sell drugs. We don't know that. So that's why we must reform immigration and get it back to a kind of a common sense approach. And that's hopefully one of the things we can do here today, is that can start the conversation process, because this is something that Joe Biden and his administration really has not addressed too much at all of any solution to this. It's been, matter of fact, if you remember, Kamala Harris the other day almost laughed it off when they said, does she plan on going to the border? And it was kind of a joking, as they described, as a nervous laugh, There's nothing nervous about it. This is a very serious situation. We've got kids, we've got families at the border that need love and attention and medical attention, and they need to find a home. And we just need to really address this issue right now. And hopefully today, Ted Cruz, John Cornyn, and 17 other U.S. senators will do just that. Let me step aside, look at the media scene. Like, media keeps building and building. We said this earlier. We've covered a lot of events, and a lot of times we're the only ones here. That is not the case today, as immigration and this border crisis has really took top center and priority. And let's see if we can walk over here, Miles. We'll get when we can probably see a lot of the caravans moving in here probably any minute now. Let me see. It's 1:36 here local time. I will say it's been a little warm. We had some cloud cover this morning. It was a little actually on the cool side, but that's not the case now as the sun is out. And we're looking at temperatures in the low 90s here in Mission, Texas, which is just along the right outside McAllen. So if you are looking at the map of Texas and you're not familiar with that, we are South Texas, just on northwest of Brownsville by probably a good hour and a half or so. So that's where we're at. We are waiting for Ted Cruz, John Cornyn, and 17 other U.S. senators. And I know that this is specifically scheduled to address immigration and what's going on here at the border, and how it seems like a lot of the media has been not necessarily covering this story. Now, I will say this. It was interesting at Joe Biden's press conference yesterday that one of the first questions was about the border crisis. I even think the media, to a certain extent, is getting frustrated at the lack of communication that they're getting from the Biden administration. And so hopefully this will kind of be a testament of what he should be doing. He should be down here. Kamala Harris should be down here. Now, I'm not saying they have all the solutions right now, but they need to see firsthand of what's going on. And there will be some cameras on these boats, and we've been told that we will have access to that footage to show you at a later date of what they find. But, they're apprehending people daily here on the border. And so I would imagine through their video, through their boat tour, they might actually come across some people getting across the border. So we'll bring all that information to you as well. And also as a reminder, we've got My Pillow coming up on Monday, an exclusive behind the scenes look at that. Plus we have another stop at 9 Line Apparel that is coming up in a few weeks. Stay tuned to all of our social media for that, as we're going to go behind the scenes once again and show you how some of these great products are made right here in the USA and shine a spotlight on these great companies. And of course, that was one of the things that President Trump said during his administration, that he wanted to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. He wanted the American dream to be alive and well. He wanted companies to stay right here in the U.S. And so we'll bring you 9 Line coming up here. We'll bring you exclusive footage and also some special discounts and opportunities for you to pick up some great stuff from 9 Line Apparel. So if you're welcome, we're here, Mission, Texas, right outside McAllen, waiting for Ted Cruz, John Cornyn. If you're just now joining us, let us know where you're watching us. We always like to know where our audience is, so comment down below. If you're from Texas, maybe post up a question, and perhaps during our Q&A session over here, we'll be able to ask these senators about that. So put up a question. What is your biggest concern when it comes to immigration and this whole border crisis? Where do we go? How do we deal with it? So put up your question and where you're watching us from, and we'll try to get to those and ask these senators, as they've got 19 senators here today. I would imagine there's a lot to say. We've got John Kennedy out of Louisiana. He's one of my favorite. He is one of these guys that seems like he has the line of the day, like the mic drop moment of the day when he goes for an interview. So hopefully we'll get one of those sound bites for him. And of course, Ted Cruz right here in Texas, John Cornyn, both very passionate about the state of Texas and making sure our borders are secure. I would imagine we're going to hear some wonderful sound bites from them as well. But we're glad you're joining us. We've had a little bit more activity behind us. It seems like we got a few more people on the boats. Let's go show you that. If you're just now joining us, we're here, and this is what the senators will be jumping on here momentarily. We got about we got 4 boats here. They will be on these boats going for a quick, probably about a 45-50 minute tour of the Rio Grande, and they'll come back and tell us what they saw. Now, we were, Miles and I, my camera guy, we were kind of amazed at the setup on these boats, and let's see if we can get a top shot of that. we've got, and look, I'm no gun expert, Miles. I'm going to be the first one to tell you that, but we've got some incredible firepower up front, and of course, protection, bulletproof shields around there. And imagine what they see on a daily basis. Imagine what they see along the border, and imagine that the criminal activity they have to come across. There's a reason why they're so protected against that. And also, let's get a shot of those engines. Hey, shout out to Mercury. You got three 350s on the back of these boats. That is some strength, people. So we were talking earlier about, I guess when you're chasing down bad guys, you got to have enough horsepower to keep up with them. So hey, shout out to Mercury and the 350. I'm not a boat expert as well, but I would imagine that boat can get up and move. But it looks like we've got a great segment for you here today, and hopefully the takeaway I want you guys to have at the end of the day is that there is a solution coming. There is some type of some answers why this is happening, and I've often wondered, why these people are leaving these countries in Central America and Mexico. And it's because there's a lack of economic development, and the leaders of these countries have really let these people down, and that's why they're coming through here. Now, I was also, I think Biden said this yesterday, that the reason why everyone's, it's a crisis right now, and all these people are coming in. He said, well, it's because they're doing it before the summer and the days are just too hot. Now, we're sitting at 90 degrees right here, slight breeze. It's warm, but this is a very different place. Come 30 days from now, this area is extremely hot and dry, all up and down the desert Southwest. So maybe time of year, perhaps I could maybe give them that of why immigration might be a little stronger now than it normally is. But there is definitely, whenever Joe Biden said, and there's many sound clips of that, of come on, we're going to let you in. And we've all seen the T-shirts that said, please Biden, let us in. My biggest question is, where did they get those T-shirts? Who gave them these Biden T-shirts? Now, when we was talking to people about coming down here and planning another trip later, that's like the number one question. Where are these people getting these T-shirts? So maybe I'm going to ask that today. Where are they getting these T-shirts? Well, we need to find out as well, because someone is sponsoring this migration. Someone is helping these immigrants come up from Central America now, and it's a big. Hang on. All right, we've been told to move over to the gravel here real quickly. This is like I said, folks, this is a fluid situation. We're trying to get an ETA on the arrival, but we're here. Let's get up over here, Miles. Let's get up, see if we get up front. We know, obviously, yeah. Let's get right here then. Okay, let's see if we can. Well, I tell you what, I'm just trying to figure out the best perspective to show everybody of so we can see the senators arrive here shortly. Yes, ma'am, behind the cones. Here we go. All right, welcome everybody. We are live here in Center at Mission, Texas, waiting for Ted Cruz, John Cornyn to arrive with 17 other senators to take a brief tour of the Rio Grande, Texas-Mexico border, and then come back to report on that. So we've got a good perspective here. Miles has done an amazing job from a production standpoint to make sure that we are in the best place to get as much footage for you, as this is a live and active situation. We've been told that they are close in the area. We've got a van. We got some vans coming up right now. Got a list of senators here. Let me pull it up for you so we'd have an idea of who's getting off these vans today. And of course, at 2:30 local time here in Texas, they are expected to hold a press conference and review what they've seen along the border here. I'd probably say about 30 to 50 media outlets here from various sources, from mainstream media down to independent conservative news outlets here as well. So pretty active situation on the media day here. We're glad you're joining us on this beautiful day here in South Texas. If you could, please share this broadcast and let us know where you're watching us from. And hopefully a little bit later this afternoon we'll get some answers, just a lot of these questions of what's going on here and how can we address the crisis here at the border. As a reminder, a lot of our coverage is brought to our partners that we cannot do anything without, and that is our good friend over at MyPillow.com, Mike Lindell. So go into MyPillow.com and use the checkout code RSBN at checkout and get up to 66% off on your entire order. And of course, we'll be up in Minnesota on Monday to have a little behind-the-scenes tour of what's going on up there. But let's support that good patriot, Mike Lindell. So go to MyPillow.com. That's MyPillow.com. Put in the promo code RSBN and get up to 66% off your order there, because it's definitely, he has been a victim of cancel culture as of the last 3-4 months, as we were staged up in D.C. for several months during the election. We witnessed it. We talked to him about it. And so you have a chance to to flex that economic muscle you have there and spend your dollar with them wisely. So go to MyPillow.com, put in the promo code RSBN at checkout and get up to 66% off. You can also go to our website, rsbnnetwork.com, rsbnnetwork.com/donate. Of course, we are 100% viewer supported, and we certainly appreciate all the support that we've gotten from our viewers over the last several years, especially in these developing times post the election. We are trying to be out there and cover. Okay, we can stand down. We've been told to stand down. Hang on.
Kind of let you know what's going to happen when they arrive, since they are running a little late. The bus will pull up, they will get off, they will go down to their boats, they will load up, we'll take off. Okay, when they come back, more likely we'll group up with the members, and then more likely do that press conference. After that press conference, it's going to be tight on time. Okay, and then after that, y'all can do what you need to do. And then once we get ready for departure, we'll just ask everybody to go back to your areas, or back in this press pen, if you don't mind.
How long's the boat tour?
It all depends on what kind of timing they want to do. That's more on their time.
What's the ETA for right now?
If I were guessing, probably 15 minutes, if they don't make a stop. There's a location they're going to, they might stop, they might not. I can't.
Okay, we're being told that the ETA of their arrival here is about 15 minutes. And so
pretty good position now to catch the arrival.
You can fit a bus through there? They can't come just be a kid.
Yeah. Okay. So we're in a great position here to catch that arrival, but we're about 15 minutes away from that, and that's if they don't stop. So we're going to just post up here for a little bit. And as he says, I asked the question as far as how long the boat tour would take. That all depends on how much time that they have. So we understand that this is just such a fluid situation. Of course, Ted Cruz earlier today was down here early this morning along the border, walking some of the route there. So I know they've been active. They've been working on stuff all day, and this is just the next stop for a lot of these senators that are covering this story. And, we were scheduled to go down to Yuma, I guess, a couple weeks ago, and we will plan on going to go there, but due to scheduling issues, we couldn't do it. But we saw some of the amazing video up and down that Arizona, California, Mexico border, and just the conditions that these immigrants have to go through to get to the U.S. And these holding facilities in these cities have reached capacity. I saw a report this morning that one facility in West Texas was up over 1,500% capacity. And so one has to wonder about, security issues, health issues. Are these immigrants being tested for coronavirus? Are we going to see a spike in these local communities where these immigrants are currently being housed? And, of course, if you work for border security, if you work for any one of these agencies that's working along with Border Patrol, you've got to be wondering for your own personal safety and health. And, of course, you see a lot of the protocols here, a lot of facial masks, and obviously we've seen that here, and they're taking all precautions. But, it has become kind of a health issue as well. If this was not in the day and age of COVID, I don't necessarily think that we would even be talking about a health crisis. But now in the day and age of COVID, and of course, a lot of these countries don't have access to a lot of testing, so they're not able to, test like we do. I mean, Joe Biden had this yesterday that, we pretty much lead the world in testing and vaccine distribution. So that's not the case in a lot of these countries. So it does become kind of a health issue at this point. And then also a security issue. You've got influx of teenage boys coming through here in the K. Billy Hutchinson Center in Dallas. I think 3,000 of them are staged there. And is this just the beginning of a conveyor belt? Is this the conveyor belt of immigration? Where they come in, we get them, we process them, we deliver them to a city near you, and then they go up throughout the country. It's one of those situations where I know that we've had a history of immigration in this country. That's how we were built and formed, and we get that. But right now, it is maxed out in the immigration process. These Border Patrol officials just cannot simply handle a lot of the influx of kids, adults coming through here, a lot of unoccupied kids. That's the scary, folks. That's the scary part about that, is a lot of kids are just unoccupied, and young as 6 years old, walking through some of these areas at night alone. And that's I don't care if you're a parent or not, that's got to touch your heart, that some of these kids have got to be scared about their future. And so we want to make sure that they are indeed taken care of, and we process them safely and get them through the legal process. One of the things that John Cornyn brought up, is going to bring up, was the fact that the court date, once we bring these immigrants in, the court date from the time they're processed and to the time they have to come back at a later date is substantially long, and a lot of times they don't come back. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump said it when he talks about this, is that these people don't come back for the court date. They simply just fade off into society, and we never again, they're gone. He is looking to shorten that court date. Now, whether or not that makes it advantageous enough for them to come back, I don't know. Maybe we change the process that when they come back, they feel like there's not a good chance that they will be returned. But there is no magic solution to any of this, and the dialogue must take place on both sides of the aisle, obviously, as this is something that is really, Texans, people really across the country, but especially these states that border Mexico, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California. This is a heated issue, and a lot of these border towns want to see something done. I mean, we saw President Trump build that amazing wall, and then there are parts that were still not completed, and Joe Biden put a halt on that and put a halt on the number of agents that were patrolling this area. So this is something that needs to be addressed. If you talk to local people, they are wanting law enforcement to come in here and ensure that these immigrants are caught and processed, and really a message from the top, from the White House, for them to be encouraged not to come. Do not come to the U.S. I mean, those words need to be, I think that Biden needs to come out and say, do not come here. You will be, processed, you will be apprehended, and you will be sent back to the country that you came from. And I don't think that message is being told right now. Therefore, that's why these people are coming up from Central America and to come into this country. So other things making headlines yesterday, Joe Biden during the press conference, that was the first one, by the way, in 64 days. That was the longest time of any president from the inauguration day to have their first press conference. It was kind of a weird time. I believe it was a 1:15 start time. He was approximately 13 minutes late for that start. But one of the things that's very interesting is he talked about the filibuster and how Republicans abused, excessive use of the filibuster in office last year. And shout out to John Roberts of Fox News. According to his research, last year, Republicans used the filibuster, are you ready for this? One time one time they used a filibuster, and the Democrats used it 327 times. So for Joe Biden to sit up there and say that Republicans abused the filibuster last year is simply not true. They used it once. The Democrats used it 327 times. On a programming note, we've got a lot of things, exciting things happening here at RSBN. We are launching a new app here shortly where you'll be able to get expanded content, a lot of different shows outdoor. We got some kind of hunting and outdoor fishing show coming up. It's just some fun stuff. So stay tuned to all of our social media, of course, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Stay tuned to those media outlets as we platforms rather. So we will announce exactly where you can get this app, and you can download it. And we'll be able to stream live from it as well. You know, hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome. We're back on YouTube. This might be our first, I think, broadcast since we just got a heads up. Just got a like a 2-minute warning. I do see some vans pulling in right now. These white vans. So stay with us, folks. We have to move around a little bit. Miles, I've got the mic cord. If you want to walk, you have no fear of tripping there. So we've got a white bus pulling up, and that's where Ted Cruz, John Cornyn, and 17 other U.S. senators will get off this bus and proceed down to the boats. And I asked the question how long they're going to be on the boat. That's just entirely up to them, how much time. It could be, who knows, it could be scheduled for an hour, but it could be shorter. So we'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and let you listen in and watch. All right, some security, state troopers getting off on this bus. We have several, might be some press poll people within the two different political camps. We have on this bus, of course, obviously John Cornyn, Ted Cruz, John Thune, Chuck Grassley, Susan Collins, Lindsey Graham. I'm looking for some, right now I don't see any of those individuals walking out at this point. Also in attendance, John Kennedy, Tom Tillis, Dan Sullivan, James Lankford, Steve Dames, Tom Cotton, Mark Lee. Hopefully, I see a few right there. Tommy Tuberville as well in attendance today. Is that you can see they've got a little bit of in-house media as well. I'm wondering if we could pivot. If we can pivot this way, Miles, I'll follow you. And if we get a different press picks, see if we move around this way. There you go. You can go. All right. Bear with us, folks. We're trying to get in position to get the best perspective on these senators getting on this boat. It's really tough at this point. Let's see if we can get in here. Off the deck. Oh no. All right, they're telling us to get off the deck, so we're in a good position right now. All right, once again, if you're just now joining us, we are live here in Mission, Texas, as we just watched U.S. senators getting ready to get on. Hang on.
Like we said before, we're going to group them together at the bottom, bring them up top here. We're going to move the podium probably more to the left. to kind of let you know, give y'all a little bit more room, bring the members up, let them do their thing, okay? Cool.
Okay, we were just told that after this boat ride, they're going to bring them up in groups, small groups, to take questions from the media here. And so certainly we've been in a position to do that here shortly. Right now, they're just getting prepared, getting the life jackets, things like that, ready to get on these boats and go for this brief tour. Once again, those in attendance, we have Senator Tommy Tuberville, Mike Braun, Cindy Hyde-Smith, John Kennedy, Tom Tillis, Dan Sullivan, James Lankford, Steve Dames, Tom Cotton, Mike Lee, Ron Johnson, Lindsey Graham, Susan Collins, Chuck Grassley, John Barrasso, John Thune, John Cornyn, of course, Ted Cruz, heading up the senators here today. As you can see, looks like they're getting all the life jackets on, getting them all secure. This is really something that was released about a week ago, that they were going to do this. There's several other similar events going across the state right now. There's an event going on in Laredo, a Secure the Border conference as well. Attorney General Ken Paxton is involved in that as well, and some other speakers, and hopefully we can be able to provide you a little bit of coverage of that, as we've had to shift some programming notes to be here at this event. So we're glad you're joining us. If you can, just share this broadcast, and hopefully when they come back, we'll be able to get some questions answered in terms of what they see and what the solutions moving forward. Obviously, you can see some of the security protocol going through, giving them kind of an update of what they can expect on this boat ride. A lot of security here, as you would expect, with the nature of the political parties that's involved. We've got a lot of law enforcement, state troopers, Texas Department of Public Safety, Texas Highway, that's part of the boats as well. We've got air support from above. We've seen all day long since we've been here in South Texas a lot of air support, helicopters coming up and down the border. It seems like every couple minutes you see one of them go by. But you're taking a look at one of the first boats to pull out. Trying to see if I can identify some of the senators on there. It's hard from this perspective, but there's boat one that's off and away. You know what we could do, Miles? Let's see if we can pivot and go that way along the water to give you guys a different perspective on it, so just bear with us as we make our way through here. Yeah, that's a good spot right there. There we go. All right, it's the second boat that's taken through, and it's hard from this perspective to see personalities, obviously from a distance, and also with the mask that a lot of them have on. It's hard for me to see exactly who's on these boats. If you look behind these boats, that is Mexico. That's how the situation. We have some copters up in the sky as well. And then lastly, the third and fourth boat now leaving the dock here. We were not told how long this tour would last. It seems like they're kind of like they're kind of stopped there in the middle. Don't know if they're waiting for the other boats or just simply explaining there is no barrier here. I mean, this is the barrier, folks. The first boat you're seeing pulling forward, if it goes straight, that is Mexican waters there. You've got people on the other side. You can see underneath that tree. I don't know if we can get that tight of a shot, but you see some individuals underneath that tree, and there's individuals along the bank as well. Folks, if you're just now joining us, we are live here in Mission, Texas, along the Texas-Mexico border, covering Ted Cruz, John Cornyn's senator-led tour of the U.S.-Mexican border here via boat along this beautiful river here. And we are expecting a press conference after they tour the river. I can imagine at this point they're going over some of the things that they see on a daily basis. I mean, the Texas Highway Patrol are up and down these waters along with border security, and they've seen, like you can imagine, what they see every day. People trying to come over by boat, people trying to swim, whatever means necessary to get across to this country. I will say this on a kind of an interesting note. There was a sign out here earlier that said "Beware of alligators in these waters." So if that's not enough to make you not want to come, that would be enough for me. But snakes, alligators, and just infested these waters from what I was told. But I don't know if that's just something that's put out there to deter people from swimming, but it would be enough for me. Taking a look at one of numerous helicopters in the area right now. It seems like every couple minutes there is one flying by. So the air patrol here is pretty intense, actually. Just at our hotel this morning, it was all night, actually. It's almost like we had a helicopter going over our hotel throughout the entire night and into the early morning. And it gives you really a wake-up call of what it's like here to patrol these borders. As I said, later today at 2:30, they're expected to hold a quick press conference before they move on to another facility. So obviously we'll have that for you as well. Perhaps a report on what they've been told, what they've witnessed over the last couple of days. As I know, Ted Cruz was down here earlier this morning along the border with some agents and kind of discovering tracks and things that people leave behind as they cross across the border here. So hopefully he'll have some commentary on that, and better yet, maybe have a solution. Like where do we go from here? What are we planning on doing to combat this humanitarian crisis around the border? And as far as illegal immigration is concerned, and what do we do with these kids? I mean, we've seen in Dallas they stacked them at 3,000. They've said that they're going to have 3,000 teens in that convention center, but where do they go from there? Okay, you can see the last boat, third boat's kind of accelerating off out of the distance. I would imagine this last one will, and so we'll have to keep an eye on when they come back and what they witness over the next few minutes. I will back away over here and give you an idea of what we're looking at. But really the root of this problem is in the countries where they reside. Limited economic ability, limited security in these countries. And really that is what is important. And I think that we saw the president of El Salvador last week on Tucker Carlson address that issue. And I actually thought his answer was amazing. And I think that was a wonderful interview that Tucker did. And he was very transparent with the fact that this is a problem within these countries, that there's no security, there's crime, criminal activity that has forced these families to really flee these countries, and there's little economic development going on as well. And I've been to Africa. I've seen countries do the same thing, and these people don't have the opportunity to leave, but if they were connected to a path to the United States, perhaps they would do what these people are doing in Central America. So it really goes down to the government. It goes down to how the government is treating some of these people in their countries, and are they providing a way to make a living? Are they providing security for them? And it's very important that those issues are addressed, or this is just going to continue. You're going to just see boat after boat. Let's see on that side. There are some people over there. That is the Mexico side of the border here, and so as you can see, there's not a whole lot of deterrent from someone from coming over here. Now, granted, there's security everywhere here, but as you move to other areas, that is not the fact. I mean, that's not the case, because you can't simply patrol that many miles of unsecured border. And that is why we've seen so much immigration here. Okay, so take a look at the clock here. It is 2:11. Now, we don't know how long this boat tour. Let's go move over here. They're making a quick announcement about the press conference. I want to make sure we just bear with us for a second, folks. If you're just joining us, welcome. We are live from Mission, Texas. Fluid situation, press conference. John Cornyn, Ted Cruz. Want to make sure that we get the right perspective for you. I missed that announcement. What was that last announcement?
We're shifting it down here, tab it.
All right, we're going to ship it down. All right, so we've been told we're going to shift on the fly, so bear with us here. I'll see if I can help Miles, our camera person, out here real quickly. Oh yeah, this is not going to be nice. What are we doing here? Let's see if we can. Well, shifting it 5 feet is not a whole lot of shift, but probably could have. All right, let's see if we can get this situation. Just for you guys watching this is like the third time that we have been told to move our cameras. So once we get a preset in place, we end up moving it. So this is the third time we've moved, and this time it seems like we've got to get a little bit better perspective. Keep moving us. Keep moving. So it's nice when you get a spot, and the next thing you know, you don't have the spot anymore. But we're going to try to get a best perspective as we can right now. This is a very fluid situation, and of course, we got to do our best to get you the shot. Let's see if we can move in. I know let's. All right. We're also going to have to, in a little bit, run a. We're going to have to run an audio line to that from there as well. All right, as we get this situation underway, we apologize for any type of discrepancies you're seeing in the video, but this is the third time that we've had to move our cameras, so we just got to get in the best position and run some audio to this podium that will be brought over there. So just bear with us, folks. We're glad you're joining us. We are live here in Center, Texas. Mission, Texas, just outside of the McAllen area, and awaiting those 17 centers to get back from this boat ride that they were just departed this dock area. Once again, we appreciate you watching us today on this Friday afternoon, and our coverage would not be possible without our good friend Mike Lindell over at My Pillow. You know, he has been with us a long time. He has been with us through difficult times, not only in what he's dealing with cancel culture, and of course, you know, we've had some dealings with that as well. And you can see, we're going to try to look. Hey, this gives you a back behind the scenes look. That's our camera guy, Miles. Miles is going to mic up the podium there, as everyone else in the media is doing right now, to prepare for this press conference. So he's going to scramble and get perhaps the best perspective he can with his with this microphone. So let's allow him to do that. We'll come back. And also a programming note. We're live in Minnesota here on Monday. Join the amazing Liz Willis and myself at the My Pillow Factory. We're going to go behind the scenes. If you missed the first time we were there, you want to watch this one, because we will show you exactly how they make those amazing pillows, and from start to finish. And we have some special promotional things as well we'll give out. So make sure that you watch us on Monday. I believe the time is 1 o'clock Central Time. I could post that up on our social media, so stay tuned for that. I don't have that offhand, but watch us definitely for that as well. And then we're off to Nine Line Apparel, which is a wonderful, patriotic, made in America-based company. We'll be there in beautiful Savannah, Georgia, providing you a behind-the-scenes look of how they make these clothes. So, and some promotional opportunities as well to take advantage of buying some of their apparel. So we're kicking off this Made in America. We'll be at Minnesota on Monday, and then the following days we'll be in Savannah, Georgia for that. All right, so if you're just now joining us, we're transitioning from the senators just left the dock here, and they're on their way toward the border and get a different perspective. I know that Tom Cruise, he probably feels like Tom Cruise at this point. Ted Cruz has been along the border for the last week or so, really kind of given his take on it. But this is the first time he's been here. So it's interesting to see what his take is on it when he comes back. So this is a fluid situation. You get to see exactly what it takes to make one of these broadcasts happen. And, Miles, real quickly, what's your thoughts right now having to move this camera 3 times?
So it's a little unexpected, but we make it work, just with a little bit of gaffer's tape, and we make sure our mic is up there so you guys can hear the nice press conference. So
it's like Miles has become, MacGyver here. We're able to make it happen despite any kind of situation that's thrown our way. And, of course, we were out here early. We were one of the first ones actually set up here at here at this location. So to be able to have to scramble a couple times, that's okay. That's the news business. That's the world we live in, and we make it happen. Everyone has to deal with it. It's just one of those situations, but we are waiting for them to come back, and so we can bring you coverage of that as well. Multiple law enforcement agencies out here. We got the Texas Department of Highway Patrol is here, state troopers is here, border agents is here as well. We've got some from the air, on the water, and here on the ground. So, and it's what we saw driving into South Texas last night. We flew in from West Palm Beach into San Antonio, then drove from there down to here. Now I'm based in Texas, so I've spent a little bit of time here in the South Texas area, but it's been quite some time. But I was really quickly reminded of how immigration is really front and centered right now by seeing all the Border Patrol, all of the police activity that's around here. You are reminded that Mexico is right there, and this is what you see on the news, and you see the stories and these really heartbreaking stories of these families traveling hundreds of miles through some really rough terrain to get to the U.S. And of course, we're all humans, and we all have, to a certain extent, a heart. We can appreciate the desire to come to this country. We understand the sacrifice they make, but also on the flip side, we need to be prepared to take a lot of these immigrants, and that's one of the things right now that's so tough to do is we're just not ready. We don't have the facilities for that, and we can't just keep putting them in civic centers around the country. I mean, because you may put them in one civic center that has 3,000 people, and then the next thing you know, you need 4,000. So what's next? American Airlines Center. Are we going to keep putting them? And it's a temporary solution to a problem. It is not the long play. It is a very temporary solution. So this is something that is going to have to be addressed, or this will get worse through the summer. This will get worse, and you'll start to see these facilities that can no longer house these teens coming across, these families coming across. And one thing that was really interesting is at the K. Bailey Hutchison Center, where they had 3,000 teens. I drove by there several times looking for any sign of how are they eating? Where is the food? Where's the food coming in? Where are they showering? These convention centers don't have bathroom facilities to house 3,000 people. They just don't. That's not what they do. And so that was one of my biggest concerns: is how are they doing this? And as we move on to different arenas, is that one thing this could be coming to a city near you, quite honestly. And we saw, if you want to wonder why there's so many Somalians in Minnesota, this is what happened in the Obama administration from Somalia. They got basically, deployed all the way up to the northern state of Minnesota. So if you feel like you're watching us right now and you're not, in a southern part of the United States, you're not in the desert Southwest, you think this is not really going to affect you, it absolutely can affect you, and it will at one point affect you. And we, not only from taking some of our, city facilities and turning them into some type of, daycare for some of these immigrants is just interesting. We're glad you're joining us. We are live here in Mission, Texas, just outside Allen, waiting for 17 U.S. senators that just left the docks here to tour the border here along the U.S. Texas-Mexico border. They'll be back here shortly for a brief press conference, and then they're off to other things as well. Also going over some notes here. I don't know if you guys caught the press conference yesterday, and unfortunately I was traveling yesterday, so I only caught about an hour of it live. I was able to go back and watch more footage of that, but I really, without being too critical, and you can go to my Twitter page right now at Brian Glenn TV. That's Brian Glenn TV, BrianGlenn. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's interesting because I think we're starting to see the effects and maybe the reason why we haven't seen the president is out in the media and as vocal as we probably would want. It seemed like Donald Trump in the days was always in the media, and I saw a great comparison between Joe Biden having 9 days to prepare for this press conference versus Donald Trump would just simply walk out, and there was no papers in front of him. There was no sheet of reporters to call in. He basically just took it and said, "Let's go. What do you want to talk about?" And the transparency, I think, between the two administrations it's so different. It's so different. So if you saw the press conference, let us know what you thought about it. Comment down below on whatever forum you're watching this on, and let us know what you thought about President Biden's press conference yesterday. And for me personally, I felt bad for him. I really did. I felt sorry for him. I thought he looked lost. I thought he looked confused at many times. I feel like, in a way, that his ability to communicate is rapidly deteriorating. And I think, from human to another human, I think that nobody wants to see that. And I think it's sad that that's the state of our president right now, health-wise. It appears, obviously, through what we saw yesterday. A lot of people, when they came out and said, refer to this administration as the Biden-Harris administration, not just the Biden administration. Could that be a pretense of what's to come as far as the future of this presidency? It's interesting. It's interesting. Also, gun control, obviously in the news, just after the several mass shootings. Gun control definitely is a topic that was addressed yesterday at this press conference as well. I think that you're going to see two things. This will be the summer of, three things. Immigration, the border crisis. That's one. That's why we're here. Number two will be the attack on the Second Amendment, your 2A rights being eliminated. And of course, I've got a great interview I'm going to do coming up next week with a well-known Texas attorney that deals with gun rights and advocacy rights. Some of this legislation that's being presented and how it really does could lead to the future of taking away your Second Amendment. I'll have an interview with him as well. And then the third thing, and maybe this is not on your radar right now, but the George Floyd, the case going on right now against Derek Chauvin and the other officers there in Minnesota, I think that could play out this summer and going into the fall, and it could be a situation there in Minnesota that will be a major newsmaker there. So you got the border, you've got the gun rights, and you have the legal situation there of George Floyd. And of course, that will be a no matter how you feel about it, it's an emotionally charged case. People's got a hot opinion on both sides. So, and while we're at it, while we're spreading hot opinions, let me know what your opinion on that is as well. What you think about the George Floyd case? Okay, we're going to go ahead.
All right, back at the RSBN studio in Auburn.
Change out batteries, and we'll be right back in about 5 seconds.
All right, back here at the Auburn studio.
All right, and now we are back. See, folks, this is what you get. When you go on the road with us, and we go from city to city, and we bring these late developing cities. You're along with us, folks. One of the things I see all the time when people come up to us and say, "Hey, I've been watching Right Side from day one," and by the way, we really, really appreciate all of your loyalty. I think we have absolutely the best viewers, the best followers, the best fans of any media group around. I have never seen in my entire life the amount of love and appreciation we get from our viewers. So I just want to thank you for that. But, this is the way we roll right here. We come up here on this Friday after we just wrapped up Leaders for Life movie premiere. I don't know if you caught that or not. That was a great movie. Go to leadersforlifefilm.com to get more information on that film. But that's kind of what we do, is we try to find out the news where it's happened. So what I'm getting to, people, what I'm trying to get to is we want to say thank you to you guys so much for allowing us to come into your little phone screens and soon to be your TV screens, your computer screens, and into your life. And thank you for entrusting us with all of this information, because really we cannot do this without you. We can't do it. You guys have been with us since 2015. You have been through us through the Trump 2016 campaign. You went through the 2020 campaign with us, and what a roller coaster that thing was. That was probably one of the things I'll never forget, is this election for 2020, and then being stationed there in D.C. and covering everything around the White House and covering all the developments that followed the election. What an amazing journey it's been. But we really appreciate everything that you guys do. If you want to, go to our website, rsbnnetwork.com, and donate what you can. And when people say, Brian, I don't have a lot of money right now, things are tight. We understand that, but any amount helps. Any amount helps. So go to rsbnetwork.com/donate and donate what you can. And of course, it helps us go out and cover events just like this, and we will continue to do that. We've got other programming notes coming up. We've got this amazing app that's coming up that we're going to do as well. We've got an outdoor fishing and hunting show coming up, which is pretty cool. I mean, that fits right inside our wheelhouse of things that we think you would want to see. So thank you so much for that. So we're going to get that kicked off. And then we've also got some music things, some Christian music festivals coming up in June and July that we'll be covering. And so all kinds of content. I've always said this. I got in this business 25 years ago, roughly, creating content and working within the news organizations. And I've never been more excited to work for a brand like RSBN Network. We're just incredible. We're doing incredible things. Joe and Bridget back at the corporate office, and Liz, the three of them have developed such an amazing network. And of course, with the backbone, with all of our camera operators, Miles, Joe, Gage, all of them, Jaden, they've done such an amazing job of making sure we go and travel around this country. So I just want to say thank you to everybody watching us right now. We've just begun. This is just the beginning of what we're going to do right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And so we appreciate all of your giving. So once again, if you could just go to our website on this Friday afternoon and just give what you can. If it's $1, it's $1. If it's 10, it's $10. It's all very much appreciated. So go to rsbnetwork.com/donate, rsbnetwork.com/donate. Also, we've got some special things. Can't believe I didn't remember to say this. When we go up to the My Pillow facility up in Minnesota, we are going to be putting in some very special notes for some viewers, subscribers on YouTube. All right, so we'll be giving away some pillows, which is always fun, and we'll be putting in some very special notes as well. So stay tuned for that. So if you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, if you just found us through somebody shared a link with you and you just clicked on it, you're not subscribed to us, go subscribe to us. Go follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and across social media. And of course, we're on Telegram as well. You can follow us there. You can follow me on social media as well, Brian Glenn TV. But make sure you're following us on all of our social media, because as we get ready to roll out these extra programs, we want to make sure that you can find us in all these different apps. You're joining us when you think about some of the things that we've done over the last year. Miles and I were talking. Miles, I want to bring you in here real quickly. I just want you to correspond with me real quick. The coldest place you and I stood on a podium following President Trump, and then maybe before then, at that then candidate Trump, where was it and how cold was it?
I'd probably have to go with probably Iowa. We got there at about, I'd say, maybe 5:30, 6 in the morning, if I had to say. It was still dark out. Windy. I swear all those flags in the back were about to rip off, and I was out there. I think, if I remember correctly, I was with Mike, and we were standing up on those risers, absolutely mind blown that we were out there and it was that windy, that cold. Hey, I mean, it was a great rally. A little shocking and really cold. Actually, I got back.
I don't see how your hands operate on these podiums, because when we try to connect all these cameras to the live view unit, to the camera, to the mic, to the mixer, my fingers are frozen and I can't grip anything. I don't see how you guys have done that.
Well, see, that's the thing is I got back to studio, went to organize all the gear because we had to make sure we still had everything, made sure that we still had our cabling and all that, because that's important for what we do. We want to make sure that we still have our equipment with us. And I cannot tell you how many of those like hot hands. Those hot hands.
Yeah, if I tell you what, for this next winter season, and when we get back into the presidential and the primary campaign season, if we can just get a sponsorship by these guys, I promise you, I will give you so many name drops throughout these frozen. But it did not save us. I would patch. Actually, Brick Suit told me that he would take these hot hands and tape them around his body. He probably was walking around with enough thermal insulation to him. But man, we can't live without them.
Yeah, I shout out to the campaign too. I think I can remember about 4 rallies that we took little stops to Walmart to get some of those. But the campaign on a couple of those rallies, I believe Minnesota, Wisconsin, a couple of those, they actually did have tents in the back with heaters. Now that was spoiling us with some boxes of hot hands. It wasn't much, but hey, it got us through. I really appreciated that more than nothing, of course, yeah. Especially on those. But yeah, I can't tell you how many I found. It was honestly comical, and it wasn't just my kit that had the hot hands in them. I mean, I was pulling them out of Will's, Gage's, Petrie's. Like, I mean, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Okay, the coldest stop for me last campaign season was Washington, Michigan. Washington, Michigan, just north of Detroit by about 62 miles, was the coldest, and it was on November 1st, which was my birthday, by the way. And the temperature outside was probably around 16 with a north wind blowing at about 20, and it was spitting sleet with occasional rain. It was horrible. The president even numerous times had mentioned the fact that, wow, this is cold. How long do I have to stand out here? He made some jokes like wanting to pack it up and go back inside. And you know what, Mr. President, I didn't blame you at all for doing that. But yeah, it was unbelievable cold. And it seemed like the whole campaign season was cold. And then, of course, when we transitioned into our coverage to Washington, and we were kind of, hunkered down there in D.C. Covering the post-election activities, I can't even tell you how many times I would walk out of my apartment and it would be 10 degrees, and I'd have to walk to the Supreme Court, and I'd walk to the Capitol. I walked everywhere doing all of the coverage that we had there around the area. So that, yeah. Okay, but now we move into the summer months. Let's transition to summer. Today, sunny, probably about 91, light wind out of the south here. Warm, but let's go. You did last election season during the summer. Hottest place you were at?
Hottest place I was at? I'd probably say somewhere in Georgia. I believe it was Savannah, Georgia. That was pretty brutal. I did most of the producing through that one, but I do remember Savannah, Georgia being pretty hot. Although, while the cold ones are brutal, the hot ones are, I would say, equally as brutal. You end up wanting to you end up really thirsty.
Yeah.
You want some water. Granted, the campaign did supply some water for us. That was really nice of them again. But those were a little bit brutal. I do appreciate the lighter packing that you get to do, though.
Yeah, you could definitely travel a little lighter. For me, the warmest stop I was on was Lumberton, North Carolina, and that was one of the early days on the tour stop that I jumped on. And it was muggy, it was humid. It's North Carolina, in the fall when these when it didn't quite warm up yet. But yeah, that was the warmest for me. Okay, let's talk about the first rally for me. The first rally for me under that last campaign was Carson City, Nevada. What a beautiful place that was, poised in a beautiful little, it's almost like a mining town there in Carson. And of course, you're just on the other side of the mountain of Lake Tahoe. What a beautiful area. But that was my first one. Beautiful weather, beautiful setting, great rally. What a way to kick off my career at Whiteside.
Yeah, I believe my first one was in Manchester, New Hampshire. That's actually the first one that I trained at over with Micah, and we went over. That was actually an indoor rally as well, and then I did production after that. But that Manchester rally, that was a lot of fun. I do kind of miss those. We were reviewing some footage from the indoor rallies. It's interesting to see the contrast in the optics between the indoor rallies and the outdoor. Of course, the outdoor, you have a lot more space. I was talking to Liz about it, actually. I loved the Air Force One shots. That was one of my favorite things to do, was track that plane with this cam.
I'm with you on that. I think for me, seeing Air Force One land and take off, and I think the greatest moment we had when it took off was at Bullhead City, Arizona, just on the other side of Laughlin, Nevada. It was one of the beautiful backdrops of that city, and in the Colorado River right there. Just what a wonderful moment that was. Yeah, for me, that was it. That was one of the pinnacle moments of any rally, was seeing that Air Force One take off.
Yeah, definitely got some great shots of that. And then, of course, the Beast rolling up. You get all of those cool vehicles that the president gets to utilize, that you do, ever since your childhood, you kind of have that appreciation for. You don't really get to see them that often, especially in those indoor rallies. You don't even get to see the Beast because he enters from outside. But, yeah, I do appreciate those little B-roll shots that we got.
And then let's fast forward to January 20th, Joint Base Andrews. I was there covering his departure there on his way back to South Florida. And I got to say, that was, if I was to go into my book of memories, that particular event really stands out because, A, it was highly emotional because we all know kind of what we just went through. and to see him say goodbye. And of course, at that point, there was a lot of speculation: is he going to say goodbye? What are the future for Donald Trump in politics? And we still, at this point, don't know. But that was a very emotional moment for me. I know that we walked out there half frozen, because it started off very cold in the morning and it stayed cold. But man, to see the family there, Melania, Eric, Donald, I mean, they were all there. They were all there by his side, and it was just kind of it was just a goodbye. It was a family goodbye, and it was a really tough thing for me to do, to stand on that podium and watch all of that. And well, yeah. So it was such the experience.
Near the end of that, I believe actually while you were there, I was in Kenosha, Wisconsin, or at least flying back from there after my last rally. Prior to that, however, I was over in Minnesota at one point for the rally that the governor actually blocked him from speaking. I recall that was a little uncomfortable for me because, you have him roll in, music's playing. Then he comes out of Air Force One, big dramatic scene. We loved it, great cinematic shot. Mm-hmm. This one, however, he pulled up in Air Force One, hopped out, got in the Beast, and the media and I are on the risers are like, whoa, what's he doing? Well, he takes the convoy and heads outside to the massive line that was out there. Let me tell you, that line was insane. Now, in the venue, we were all waiting for him to pull back around, and I heard the loudest shouts and screams and excitement to see our president. And there was so much appreciation for that, because while they couldn't come in, he said, "You know what? I'm a man of the people. I'm going to go to you.
Yes.
I'm going to go to you. Like, tell me that isn't like the presidential move that you want to see at a rally like that."
No, it's incredible, and that's what he always did. It was about the people. It was about that personal relationship. We've seen, when people say, who is the typical, Donald Trump supporter? The biggest misconception is that it's white America. It's middle-aged white guys from Iowa, and that could not be further from the truth. And so you and I have been out there. We've seen Latinos for Trump, Asians for Trump, LGBTQ for Trump. So he has such a diverse mixture of fans and followers, and it's just amazing. Those rallies bring everyone together. And Miles, the music, the energy, the excitement, the beast rolling up, him getting out, the plane landing. Let's talk about Marine One real quickly. I believe was it you and I were on the South Lawn when Marine One was coming back from Valdosta, Georgia. Let me tell you something. How cool was that?
That was actually insane. We have the raw footage back on our YouTube channel. If you want to go ahead and pop on over there and watch that, that's actually one of the most incredible shots I actually ever got to take. Now, we all know that thing is a beast. But being on that South Lawn, lights. We had the lights shining down on us from the White House, and they cut them off, and we're like, oh, that's interesting. Well, I look over at the Washington Monument, and you see 3 lights, approaching from the west and or east. And as it approaches, the other 2 split off, and Marine One actually comes and approaches the White House. Now, you don't feel anything, of course, because aerodynamics, but once that wind kicks down onto the South Lawn, it actually kicks over to where we were standing, that media spot. And let me tell you, the sheer force from that helicopter was absolutely insane. If you watch that clip back, you will see, unfortunately, you will see my camera kind of tilt upward. Now, I was holding the camera down, but I did not expect that amount of force to the point where it started shifting upward. I had to actually lean down onto the camera. I had to put my body weight onto it to keep it down. And at one point, I told myself, hey, I'm wearing a hat right now. I should probably take this off before it blows away. Well, I forgot to take that hat off before we went live. And let me tell you, that hat ended up flying off into the lawn. And luckily, I got it back, but that was pretty funny. It ended up right at my feet, and I felt it flying around at my feet. In the middle of that clip, I actually ended up having to stomp down on that hat, and I just peeked down because I could not I needed to watch my shot, and I just had to peek down, make sure, oh, that's my hat, good, stomp. Now I cut back to my shot. We made sure we got that out to y'all, but that was probably one of my favorites. It was definitely an interesting one. Now I wish that the president had come over to us and asked some questions, because we likely could have got one, but I do understand. It was later at night. I believe it was around 11:30, 12 o'clock at that point, and he had just wrapped up over in Georgia. But I recall being we were actually back in our apartment, and we were like, hey, he's flying in. Why don't we go get that scenic shot? I wanted to have some B-roll for us, so we got the pleasure of taking an Uber over to the White House and walking through the Rose Garden. That was really unique as well. We made some friends with the Secret Service, and we really appreciate all that they do. I do believe that there are a couple of them over there. We were talking to them briefly. They were really interesting to talk to, as well as the as a Floridian, I'm used to that one. The Texas Highway Patrol members that were actually on the boats over there. We were talking about my Auburn polo that I had on, War Eagle.
I'm surprised. Here's the thing. When I first came to Right Side, this whole Auburn, we got a boat coming in. Let's go ahead and switch over. It looks like we got something coming in. But anyway, War Eagle, everybody. That's one of the things I learned when I quickly came to Right Side Broadcasting Network was War Eagle. All right, so we got the first boat arriving, and then we should shortly transition into a brief press conference, and we'll bring that to you as well. We'll have to switch over the audio, so you'll have to give us a few minutes to do that, but we'll continue with this until they step in front of the podium. Of course, again, we got about Ted Cruz, John Cornyn, and 17 other U.S. senators are on these boats as they make their way back to shore. And it is a tight quarter here, so bear with us. You might have some people getting into position here, and we totally understand that. This has been something all day that's been pretty fluid, so. Glad you guys are joining us. We are live here in Mission, Texas, just outside McAllen, Texas, along the Texas-Mexico border, and we are giving you live coverage of Ted Cruz and John Cornyn as they tour the Rio Grande here that separates Texas and Mexico. And we are awaiting a brief press conference to wrap up what they saw, and more importantly, maybe offer some solutions and some ideas on how we can address this humanitarian crisis. We've got 4 boats here. First boat is pulling in. They were out there for about 25 minutes, according to my watch here. So, sure they were able to explore the immediate area here. If you missed the broadcast earlier, we talked about what it was like to drive into this area. There's a lot of presence. You could probably hear the helicopter above me, a lot of border patrol. These boats are the Texas Highway Patrol, which I had no idea that they were, didn't realize that the Texas Highway Patrol had these amazing security border boats, but they do. And we said earlier how impressed we were as far as how they were outfitted from a safety standpoint and security standpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll step aside and let Miles get you a shot. Of course, I think I can see Ted Cruz is on this first boat. I see him with the camouflaged hat and tan long sleeve shirt. Lindsey Graham looks like next is to Ted's left, your right. I was told earlier they will spend just a few minutes with the media before they head out to their next stop, as they have made some earlier today already. Ted Cruz was along the border early this morning, so this is just one of many stops for this this Senate delegation that's here today.
Got it.
As you can see now, they're taking off the life jackets and safety gear, making their way off the boat onto these docks. Senator Cruz obviously thanking the law enforcement people here. I've got some friends that have been in border security for quite some time, and they have always told you this is some of the hardest working people in law enforcement are the ones that work, the men and women along our border. It's an incredible, tense, 24-hour type scenario, especially now with this huge influx that we're seeing coming in. So we want to say special thank you to all of our men and women of all law enforcement that sacrifice a lot of time to make sure that our borders are protected, and that's why we're here, folks. That's why we're here. We want to show you this. We want to hear from our leaders, and we want to make this country a better place. And we certainly think that doing shows like this and covering content that can help secure our country is the way to go. I will note that Senator Ted Cruz has a Texas flag on his hat, which is pretty cool because he is a proud Texan here. I had the opportunity to meet him years ago when I was working for a news organization there in Texas, and so I can't say anything but good things about Senator Ted Cruz, and he was a gentleman in every shape of the word. Taking a look at the final boat coming in. Trying to find out if I can recognize anybody from this distance on that boat at this point. A little bit too far out for me to see that at this point. Helicopters continue to circle above us. There is a sizable law enforcement presence here. Obviously, with the nature of where we're at and the amount of politicians that are here, obviously we want to make sure that everyone is safe and secure. We got here early this morning, and once you get into South Texas, you are quickly reminded that you are on a border town. You are in a border city. Border Patrol agents are pretty much everywhere down here. On the highway driving in from going southbound from San Antonio, it seemed like just about every 10 minutes you would see a border agent parked on the side of a road or somewhere in the center median. So definitely a lot of law enforcement activity down here in Texas. Hey, I want to remind everybody, take a quick moment to shout out our true patriot, Mike Lindell, over at MyPillow.com. MyPillow.com. Look, this coverage that we're providing you today would not be possible, simply would not be possible without the generous business transactions that you do with MyPillow. A portion of those proceeds goes to help our network. So we're asking you right now, if you could please go to MyPillow.com. That's MyPillow.com. Put in the promo code RSBN, and get up to 66% off your entire order. It's very important that we support him in this cancel culture age, and especially in this day and age where retailers are taking him off the shelves. Well, it's time for you to put one of those pillows in your room at home. So we appreciate your support at MyPillow.com. Thank you so much for helping him, because a portion of those proceeds goes right back here to the network. So indirectly you are supporting us, and you're supporting a patriot like Mike Lindell. MyPillow.com. All right, here's a look. We get the final boat looks like it has pulled up. They are getting off. We've been told that they will come in small groups here to the podium, just to the left of the camera, and they will take a few questions. I would imagine they will be probably the first question they're going to ask is, what are you seeing right now? and what should President Biden do about this. And we saw that Vice President Kamala Harris had kind of laughed off her trip to the border, and I thought that was really interesting. Then 2 days later, Biden announces that she will be the point person to address the immigration crisis here at the border. So we'll see what they have planned to do. And I just saw at the last few minutes, it came across my feed that it looks like former President Trump will try to make an appearance at the border. Okay, so we're going to transition over to the mic here for the podium, so stand by.
Tell me when.
Perfect. I'm just going to get the other senator set up behind you, sir. Perfect.
I don't think there are any cameras left in the Rio Grande Valley.
Fill in here, and we can do some rows too, if that's helpful. All right, looks like that's everyone. Senator, go right ahead.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's great for Senator Cruz and I to be back in the great state of Texas, and particularly in the beautiful, vibrant, and exciting Rio Grande Valley. We, of course, come here often and value the friendships and the work that we get a chance to do together on a bipartisan basis. Of course, what brings us here now is this immediate humanitarian crisis. The Border Patrol and Health and Human Services, all the government officials tell us they are doing the best they can, but they're being overwhelmed by sheer numbers. And the smugglers and the cartels are doing this on purpose because they know getting paid by the head for as many people as they can get into the country, covering Border Patrol up with children to take care of, taking them off the front line presents an opportunity for them to smuggle drugs, methamphetamine, heroin, and fentanyl into the United States. So we thought it was really important to be able to bring our colleagues from the Senate who are not from border states, who don't get to come here as often as Senator Cruz and I do, to show them this great region. And it's been a wonderful day. We got here last night, had a chance to go out on some nighttime operations with the Border Patrol. But it's great to welcome them. But here's the bottom line. The Border Patrol and Health and Human Services and the non-governmental organizations that are struggling to deal with this flood of humanity tell us they cannot get ahead of this flood of humanity without policy changes in Washington, D.C. The smugglers, the drug runners, they understand our laws and they know how to exploit them to their benefit. So ending catch and release, making sure people with legitimate claims get to present them to an immigration judge, I think should be a priority. And then perhaps we can begin to look at other parts of our broken immigration system. But I'm very proud of the fact that we had such an enthusiastic turnout among all these great colleagues in the United States Senate. I'm glad they're here. I think you'll hear from them. They had a great educational experience. Let me turn it over to my colleague and friend, Senator Cruz.
Thank you, John. It is great to be back in the Rio Grande Valley. It is terrific that John and I were able to bring 18 senators down to Texas, down to the valley, to see firsthand the crisis that is unfolding here. All of us today witnessed the Biden cages. What is occurring here on the border is heartbreaking, and it is a tragedy. You know, as we stand by the banks of the Rio Grande, we have an army of TV cameras here. It is striking that not a single one of these cameras is allowed in the Donna facility. We requested that media accompany us in the facility. The Biden administration said no. The Trump administration had allowed media inside facilities like that. The Obama administration had allowed media inside facilities like that. The George W. Bush administration had. The Bill Clinton administration had. But the Biden administration wants to hide what is going on here. Not only that, but a number of us took pictures and took videos because the American people have a right to know what is happening here. And the Biden administration sent down political handlers to try to keep silent, to try to keep the American people not knowing what's going on. The Donna facility is a giant tent city. Built with a capacity of 250, it has nearly 4,000 people in it. We saw cages after cages after cages of little girls, of little boys, lying side by side, touching each other, covered with reflective emergency blankets. There was no 6-foot space, there was no 3-foot space, there wasn't a 3-inch space between the children lined up one after the other after the other. And children as young as infants. We saw playpens with infants and toddlers playing. We also saw a group of children who just today tested positive for COVID-19. The Donna facility alone reports roughly 10% of the individuals being held there are testing positive for COVID-19. Rates dramatically higher than the U.S. population, and the Biden administration is taking people who are testing positive for COVID-19 and locking them in cages side by side. This is inhumane, it is wrong, and it is the direct consequence of policy decisions by the Biden administration to stop building the wall, to return to catch and release, and to end the stay in Mexico policy. A number of us are releasing those photographs and releasing those videos so the American people can see what's happening here. This needs to stop. It is a crisis, it is a tragedy, and it is a man-made crisis. This was avoidable, this was preventable. And regardless of your party, Republican or Democrat, you should look at what's going on here and say enough is enough, this must stop. John Thune.
Okay, thanks, Ted. Well, I want to thank Ted and John for making this trip available to the rest of us. It was incredibly informative, incredibly instructive, very sobering, and as Ted said, I think really preventable. This shouldn't have happened, and I think one of the lessons we learned is that if you don't build it, they will come. When you don't finish the job and secure the border, you are inviting people into this country, and many of the changes made by the current administration, they were forewarned that this would happen. They were told in advance, this was predictable, that you were going to have thousands of people flooding across the border. And the thing that's probably most concerning, and I say this with all due respect to our Border Patrol folks, is that they spend so much time just taking care of people who come here illegally. They can't stop the bad people, the smugglers, the drug smugglers, the human traffickers. And when you're devoting as much time as they are to taking care and supervising and trying to keep safe all those people who are sitting in these facilities down here, it really is a sad day. We need a change in our policy. I am grateful to the Border Patrol for just the tremendous job that they do. I'm sure it seems like a very thankless job even on a good day, and there aren't many good days when you have thousands of people coming across the border. But we appreciate their work. They're trying to keep our country safe and secure. We need to help them by putting good policies in place and getting away from these failed policies that have been implemented by the Biden administration and that are leading to this crisis on our border. Thanks.
We learned from the Border Patrol that they were asked a long time before the inauguration of the new president their advice on how to handle situations at the borders. We're told that they were advised more than once not to change the Remain in Mexico policy. They didn't take that advice, so we have a crisis at the border because this administration wouldn't listen to the people that had tens and tens and tens of years of experience with the problems here at the border. So this crisis is because this administration would not listen to good advice. And it's become a national security problem, a law enforcement problem, a humanitarian problem, and a lot of other things as well. And yet, they want an immigration bill passed. How can you pass an immigration bill when you have an open border? If they want to accomplish anything on immigration and I want to help them, it would be secure the border.
You got to stop the bleeding before you can take care of the problem. Thank you.
I'm John Barrasso, Senator from the state of Wyoming. We came here for a number of reasons. Number one, we wanted to thank the Border Patrol for the job they do every day and every night. We met with them last night and went on midnight patrol with them. They told us their job got a lot harder on January 20th, the day that Joe Biden became president of the United States. As we were with them last night in the darkness across the river, we could see the traffickers and the coyotes and the smugglers on the other side of the river with their bright lights, almost as bright as that television light right there. And they were taunting our border agents, saying, "You cannot stop us now." That's what our agents are up against as a result of the policies of the Biden administration. Today we went to the Donna facility, and what we saw were young people crammed in like sardines, something none of us would want for any of our own children. And as we tried and did video what was happening there to share with the country and the world, the Biden administration censors tried to stop us. Yesterday, President Biden held a press conference, and he said that the great majority of families who come here illegally are being sent back. That's not true, and either he doesn't know it or won't admit it to the American people. The Border Patrol will tell you it's not true. The senators who are here today will tell you it's not true. The men and women in the field will tell you it's not true. It's time to let the press in to see what is happening and the tragedy that this administration has brought on to our nation.
Mike Braun from Indiana, hundreds of miles away. We see all this on our own TV sets back home, and there's no substitute for being here. This was an unforced error on the part of the Biden administration, and when you look at what underpins it, it's that caustic political environment we've got, that if one side is doing it, and it happens to be going well, the other side wants to undo it. And that moment I'll take back, that I'll never forget, is what Senator Barrasso just talked about. To think that you got the brazen statement when we're there, when the Border Patrol is there at midnight, that they're going to keep coming and they're going to get the best of us. That is a sad situation, and I'm hoping that there's enough political will on the other side of the aisle to do what they should have done in the first place, and that's not to try to fix something that wasn't broken and go back to what is working. And you can tell just today in daylight, helicopters, state trooper boats, Border Patrol, and there was something that just happened between when we went upriver and back. That's how tough it is.
I'm Dan Sullivan from the great state of Alaska. I am literally thousands of miles from home. But this is important to my state for a whole host of reasons. The number one thing I've taken out of this trip, and I want to thank Ted Cruz and John Cornyn again, is the President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States need to do what we just did. They need to come down here, they need to listen, and they need to learn. Here's what I've learned. We have an upside-down border policy in America. What do I mean? We have open borders on the southern border. There's no doubt. And by the way, the people coming in who are released immediately almost, they're not tested at all. Open borders, no testing for COVID. For the southern border. For the northern border, we have closed borders. My state is facing an economic catastrophe, the great state of Alaska. People want to come travel there even after being vaccinated, and we have that border closed. What we need is the opposite. A closed border here for the time being, and an open border on the northern border. That's what the president and vice president will learn if they come down here like we did and learn from the people.
So Ted and John, this is the most informative trip I've ever taken, and that's saying a lot. Why are 18 senators here? Because it's the biggest issue facing the country in many ways right now. So what have I learned? They knew. If the Trump administration had been told something and they did the opposite and it blew up in their face, everybody would be asking the Trump administration, what did you know and when did you know it? So I'm going to help you here with your reporting. Mr. Hastings, who's a 2-star Border Patrol leader, told us that he briefed transition members of the Biden administration as to what would happen if you do away with the Remain in Mexico policy. He told us they briefed the Biden administration what would happen if you changed the Title 42 laws to allow unaccompanied children to come here and not be sent back home. Everything they said would happen happened. So if you don't do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to find out who he talked to and memorialize that conversation and hold them accountable, because they knew, and when they say this is Trump problem, they're lying. This is a problem of their own making. What else have I learned? That Joe Biden, the president, made the problem worse yesterday. This was a nightmare press conference. He told everybody, don't worry, we got crowded facilities. We're going to build 5,000 more beds in Texas at a military base. So how does that play in Central America? They're going to expand the number of people they can take. He said when a child has a phone number on their wrist, we're going to call the family member and unite that family. This is uniting illegal immigration. So the last thing I learned is that we're complicit as a nation in human trafficking. What did we learn last night? There's a trail on our side of the border with markers placed by the federal government to show illegal immigrants where to go. That we're transporting people who pay to get here the last mile with your taxpayer dollar. It's costing about $800 a day per child. If we don't change the pull factors, go back to the Remain in Mexico policy where they can't apply for asylum here, send the unaccompanied minor children back to their home country, there will be 250,000 people a month coming. The Border Patrol said there is no end to this. So Vice President Harris, this is your job to fix. I promise you I will work with you, but you cannot possibly understand your job unless you come here. The last thing we're going to do is introduce a resolution praising the men and women of the Border Patrol and the Customs Department. I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan 56 times. Our soldiers serve in incredibly tough conditions. What we're asking the men and women of the Border Patrol to do is inhumane. They have to deal with things that I don't know how they make it through the day. I don't know how their families stay together. So we owe it to them. Finally, the president said, I'm not going to apologize to anybody about my policies. Mr. President, you need to apologize to those whose job it is to secure the country for making their job impossible. And most importantly, you need to change.
I'd like to follow Lindsay and tell you what I learned. First of all, that those signs that he was talking about, it's a big old yellow arrow. I called it the Biden arrow, showing illegal immigrants how to come into this country. But I've been down the border a number of times during multiple surges, 2015, 2018, 2019. Back in 2018, 2019, the big issue was we didn't have the facilities. We were overwhelmed, and so we couldn't follow the law and release unaccompanied children into the hands of HHS within 72 hours. It was taking 7 days, sometimes 10 days, and that was a big issue. And we were all wondering, how could we solve that problem? What I found out last night, that's not a problem right now, because the Biden administration has set a goal for Customs and Border Patrol to process and release people in an 8-hour time frame. 8 hours. That's not even a speed bump. It's a go slow zone on a path to illegal entry into this country. And it's facilitating untold inhumanity. I came here a little bit late. I don't know that anybody mentioned the fact that we had to slow down because there was a dead body in the water just upstream here. There's nothing humane about that treatment. Nothing whatsoever. My final point is because Vice President Harris served on my committee. I saw how she asked questions of federal law enforcement, these people that we do need to thank, and thank their families for their service and sacrifice. She was never interested in securing the border. Instead, what she did is she actually compared a federal law enforcement agency, ICE, to the Ku Klux Klan. Now that is the person President Biden has put in charge of solving this problem. How can you do that when you have to rely on the brave men and women of federal law enforcement? You're putting in charge of the effort, somebody who has compared your efforts to the Ku Klux Klan? I just don't get it. This is so sad coming down here. Before I came down, somebody asked me, what do you expect to see? I said I expect to experience deja vu. I did to a certain extent, but I saw something far, far worse. This is sad. This is depressing. This didn't have to happen. This is a self-inflicted wound on our nation, and I just do not believe the Biden administration is up to the task of fixing it unless they completely change stripes here. This is sad. This is a tragedy.
There's a word for what's happening at our border. It's insanity. Every day, thousands of migrants are racing towards our border. Yet those migrants are not running away from Border Patrol officers. They're running to the Border Patrol officers because they know, and their smugglers and their traffickers know, that they can game our asylum system. They can be released into the country into a matter of days, sometimes a matter of hours, and they will never have to go back to their home country. Meanwhile, the brave men and women of our Border Patrol who signed up to be law enforcement officers are compelled to be social workers, babysitters, and cafeteria workers. The madness needs to stop, and there's only one way to stop it. It's for Joe Biden to say, do not leave your home. Do not come to our country. If you do, you will not get in, and we will send you home. And until Joe Biden says that, the madness will continue. Hardworking taxpayers will be forced to spend billions on this crisis. Drugs will continue to flow into our country and devastate American families. Our borders will be wide open to potential terrorists. The madness has to stop.
I'm John Hoven from North Dakota. What a difference between the northern border and the southern border. I want to thank John and Ted for bringing us down here. There's 18 senators here. And what we're trying to accomplish is we want the American people to understand what's going on here. We just want the American people to understand what's going on here, because if they do, they'll say, no, this has to stop right now. You have to change this right now. As we said, we just came by a dead body in the water, just coming back to this press conference. Last night when we landed, we went with the Border Patrol out and saw where the migrants are coming across the river, coming up trails, and they're being, in essence, processed under a bridge. Is that how we do things in America now? We have people streaming in illegally, children, women and children. We just let them come in, and we process them under a bridge in the middle of the night, and we won't let the American people see it? We won't let senators take a picture of it? Is that how we do things in America now? You see, I think if the American people understand what's going on, they're going to say, no, you change this right now. And that's what this is about. Today, we go to the Donna Processing Center. It's a tent. It's a big tent. How many of you been in there? I guess not, right? Well, we're in there today. And why aren't you in there? What's going on? It's a big tent with COVID protocols. They're supposed to have a maximum of 250 people in there. 250 with COVID protocols. Without COVID protocols, a maximum of 1,000 people. How many are in there today? 4,200. And in this sector alone, 3,000 people a day are coming across every single day. We asked the Customs and Border Protection, the Border Patrol professionals, what do you need to stop this so you can get on top of it, so you can do your job? What has to happen? What's the number 1 and 2 things? They said, look, if you reinstate the Remain in Mexico and the safe third country approaches, we can get on top of this right now. That's what needs to happen, and that needs to happen right now. And then, as Senator Grassley said, and others have said, then let's figure out how we do address immigration in an intelligent and a humane way. But it starts with the American people understanding what's going on right now and us changing it. Thank you.
I'm Cindy Hyde-Smith from Mississippi, and the men you see behind me, they're here to help us solve a problem. I'm here to help us solve a problem. We have talked to these border patrols, and they have told us how overwhelmed they are, how overcapacitated they are. These guys have a hard job, and you know, they were just beginning to get a little relief before these policies changed. They were just about to be able to say we've got a handle on most of this just before these policies changed. I'm a mother. I have a daughter. And after visiting where these kids are being kept that are close to my daughter's age, the stories we are hearing are beyond horrifying that's happening to these young girls. We have a job to do. We've got to go back to D.C. Not only do we have to save this border, we've got to save this country.
Tom Tillis from North Carolina. A lot of my colleagues have covered the tragedy here. Can you imagine how any president or vice president, given the facts that we presented here, and these are facts, ladies and gentlemen, you can go out to our websites, and I hope that you will, and share this information with the American people. 2-year-old and 3-year-old children sitting alone at a bench unaccompanied. They called them playpens, but they were actually holding areas for little babies. I've got pictures. My colleagues have pictures. Go out there, report this to the American people, and maybe the president will take notice. And the next time Vice President Harris is asked if she's coming to the border, instead of laughing and saying, not today, get down here, get informed, and recognize you've got a crisis and it's on you to fix it. And we stand ready to help.
My name is Mike Lee. I'm a senator from Utah. I'm about 1,500 miles from home. But in a sense, I feel at home here. I spent 2 years living here as a young man in the early 1990s. And learned to love the Rio Grande Valley as if it were my own home. But in many ways, my heart is still here. I don't think I ever imagined back then, spending time as I did, hanging out in this very park, that one day I'd come back here as one of 18 U.S. senators, touring facilities along the U.S. border with this kind of misfortune, with this kind of in bad public policy. We're a nation of laws. We're a nation of immigrants. We need to be both. We don't have to choose between one and the other. And in fact, we know from sad experience that if we cease to be either, we will cease to be both. It was a tragically moving experience, one that I hope each and every one of you, as members of the news media, will have, as painful as it is, to have the visits that we've had over the last 18 hours with the poor men, women, and children, especially the women and children who have come across, who have been trafficked, 30% of whom are estimated to have been subjected to sexual assault in the journey. Meanwhile, over the last month, it's been estimated that these drug cartels are making $14 million every single week, smuggling them, abusing them, and contributing to an environment of lawlessness. Lawlessness is not compassion. Open borders is not an answer to enabling a thriving of the human condition. Somos una nación de leyes. También somos una nación de inmigrantes. Podemos ser los dos. Debemos de ser los dos.
I'm Senator Steve Daines from Montana. You might ask, what's a Montanan doing here in the southern border? Well, I represent a state, a northern border state, that has a southern border crisis. What we haven't talked much about yet today in this press conference is what's going on with the drugs pouring across the southern border. It's a zero-sum game down here in terms of what's going on with our Border Patrol. They have a limited number of resources. In fact, we've deployed some of our northern border resources here to help out in the southern border. For every hour they spend processing the flood of illegal immigrants coming across the border is an hour that is taken away from being on the front lines defending our country and stopping the flood of Mexican meth, Mexican heroin, Mexican fentanyl. 20 years ago in Montana, meth was homemade. It was homegrown. And it had purity levels less than 30%. Today, the meth that is getting into Montana is Mexican cartel. It has purities north of 95%. Far more dangerous, far more addictive, and it's less expensive because they're producing so much of it and then shipping it into our country. I spoke to one of my county sheriffs in Montana 48 hours ago. He told me he was holding 7 Mexican cartel members in his jail in Montana in the last couple of weeks. We have MS-13 gang members in Montana. So this is an issue that affects a northern border state like Montana. And finally, Montanans are scratching their heads. They're asking, where's the common sense when a U.S. citizen, if they leave the country and want to come back in, you have to produce a passport and a COVID test result. That's not true right now on the southern border. And we're scratching our heads and asking why.
It's James Langford from Oklahoma. I know why President Biden doesn't want the media to be here. Because we do have an open border. Last night when we stood under that bridge, we watched as families, if you had a 6-year-old or younger come in, within hours you were processed and released into the country. If you were an unaccompanied minor, you were sent over to the Donna facility, which we went and visited. That facility, just in one of the pods that I stood in, is designed for 80 people in that pod, and they had 709 people in that pod when we were there. Literally wall to wall in every one of the plexiglass little cells that they have, and then people flooding out into the hallway in between them. 709 people in a pod set up for 80. So that's what happens to the unaccompanied minors. Families are released into the country immediately. And for single adults that are crossing the border, here's the basic thing that's occurring, and everyone down here knows it, and so do the cartels. They'll release 100 or more adults to be able to go one direction, while 100 or more children and families go a different direction. They turn themselves in, which means Border Patrol has to move to that spot, leaving the rest of the border open for adults with criminal records and others to be able to come across. That is the definition of an open border. Removing the security from one area and making sure that people can cross in that area, and allowing 50% of our Border Patrol to have to be used to do input and data processing. To be able to come and see this wall under construction and to see what wall construction stopping really looks like. Open gates with no power on it, so farmers can't come back and forth. Open gates where they have to actually station somebody from the Border Patrol just to be able to sit at that gate. Haven't put in the technology, no cameras, no lights, no ground sensing technology, and worst of all of it, the area where the levee that protects all these cities and communities, the levee is taken down to be able to start putting in the concrete levee, and for more than 10 miles, those areas are now unprotected with no levee at all. So now we have a hazard this fall when the rainy season comes in this area, and the possibility of a hurricane, because construction on the wall is stopped, which means construction on the levee has also stopped as well. This is nonsensical what we're seeing in policy, and we saw none of this just 3 months ago. None of this flood was occurring at that time. None of the problems with construction were happening at that time, and we did not see the humanitarian crisis happening at that time. This is something that needs to be addressed and can be addressed by President Biden, but it was very clear when we got here, there's a reason why he doesn't want the press to be here.
I'm sorry that they won't allow you to see what we saw. I'm not sure there are words in English to describe it. If you talk to the Border Patrol agents, those women and men will tell you that what President Biden is doing is bone deep down to the marrow stupid. They want to go back to the border practices and the border security that existed on the day that President Biden was inaugurated. Now, President Biden and Vice President Harris need to come down here. I don't mean any disrespect, and I'm not trying to tell them how to do their jobs, but they need to come down here. Because it became clear to me today that there are either one or two things going on here. Either President Biden believes in open borders. You do, after all, have to watch what politicians do, not what they say. Or the people that President Biden has put in charge to make border security policy are not qualified to manage a food truck.
Thank you very much. Coach Tommy Tuberville from state of Alabama. Spent a lot of time down here recruiting the Rio Grande Valley as a football coach. I've seen things happen down here for years. I'm just an American. I believe in this country. I can put one word to this. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for the taxpayers of this country, what I've seen the last 24 hours. It brings tears to your eyes to see what's happened. And let me tell you something, this ain't a Democrat or Republican problem. This is an American problem. For years, we've been kicking the can down the road as a federal government, not taking care of this border, and we should have. We finally elected a president in Donald Trump because he got elected because he said he was going to fix it. And he was trying to fix it. And he was unelected. Now we've had a guy come in that's changed it all. Border Patrol says, just give us a game plan. Don't do anything. Please don't do anything until you tell us what you're going to do so we can prepare. They didn't give them any preparation. They changed it. And what a mess. What a complete mess. It is, like I said, it is embarrassing that we have let down the American taxpayer, we've let down the people of Mexico, and we've let down the people of South America, that we put them through this. And if we don't change it, folks, like you just heard from everybody here, I'm the last one. If we don't change it, it is going to get 10 times worse. You're going to have thousands of people die, and you're going to ruin a country that was built on loyalty, dedication, and compassion. But this country ain't strong enough to withstand what's getting ready to happen. They need to let y'all in so you can report it. And I hope to God y'all report what you see if they let you in. Thank you very much.
Hell of a job, Dr. Bill.
All right, we'll take a couple of questions.
So I do have some data here. If I could just very quickly go over, and I'm not going to go over everything. But in fiscal year 2019 in May, the Southwest border migration apprehensions, according to Customs and Border Protection, were more than 144,000. Again, that's fiscal year 2019, and I do have it pulled up right here. That's exponentially higher than fiscal years 2014, 15, and so on. So my question is was it a crisis in 2019, and is there truly a crisis?
So it was a crisis in 2019, and President Trump tried very hard to solve it. He tried to work with Congress. He tried to work in a bipartisan manner. A number of us here were working very closely with President Trump to solve it. There was a court decision called the Flores decision that was mandating the release of children and family units, which was in turn serving as a magnet for bringing more and more children, putting them in harm's way, causing them to be abused, sexually abused and physically abused by human traffickers. And President Trump tried to work with Congress to fix it, and congressional Democrats had zero interest in fixing it. They said they would not work to do anything. And I'll tell you what turned it around in 2019 is the president negotiated a deal, the Remain in Mexico policy, with the government of Mexico. It was a landmark deal that provided that when people came illegally from Central America through Mexico and they applied for asylum in the United States, that they would remain in Mexico while the matter was proceeding. And that caused the numbers to drop, and drop dramatically. Last year, we had the lowest level of illegal immigration in 45 years. It worked. The policies were working. And what did Joe Biden do? He came in and immediately tore up this international agreement with the government of Mexico. And he has caused, last month, we had 100,000 people intercepted illegally coming into this country. This month, we're on path to have 140,000 people intercepted. There are 15,000 children in custody right now, and those numbers are rising, and they are rising because of the Biden administration's mistakes.
We got time for two more questions.
For decades, Republicans have
blocked any effort leading to comprehensive reform on immigration for decades. People aren't going to want to stop coming to this country. They clearly do. Quite rightly, everyone here is proud that America is a nation of immigrants. So what are you going to do to solve this challenge long term?
Well, the premise of your question isn't right. We are a nation of immigrants. That is absolutely right. My father came to America from Cuba in 1957. He was 18 and he couldn't speak English. He had $100 in his underwear. We're a nation that is built by people coming here seeking freedom. And there's no nation on earth that is more generous, more welcoming to immigrants than the United States of America. But there's a right way to come. The right way to come is legally, following the rules, following the rule of law, coming here legally. The wrong way to come is putting children in the custody of human traffickers. These are vicious transnational criminals. As several folks told you, we just saw a dead body floating on the Rio Grande coming by of someone who died, crossing, no doubt, with a trafficker. This is inhumane, what is going on, and the Democrats have made decisions. Joe Biden and the Biden administration have made decisions that are causing these people to suffer, and to do this in a pandemic is particularly irresponsible. In Harlingen, the illegal immigrants being released are testing positive for COVID-19 at a rate 7 times higher than the U.S. population. This makes no sense.
Just very quickly, instead of asking a Republican or a Democrat, why don't you ask the people in charge of policing the border what the problem is? Rather than making a political statement and a question, why don't you walk right over there and ask the guy, what the hell happened? We got a chart, I'll give it to you. This was June, right here. See this spike? It was big. What did Trump do? He told Mexico, we're going to put tariffs on all your products unless you allow us to have asylum seekers stay in Mexico. What happened? It went down to a 45-year low because nobody's going to pay $20,000 to come to Mexico and wait for 4 years. The day the first plane load of kids went back to Central America, the unaccompanied minor problem went to a 45-year low. So why don't you do your job as a reporter and ask the professionals what the hell has happened in the last couple of months, and they will tell you. They told the Biden administration, if you do what you're planning, we're going to lose control of the border. They were right. I want to know who they told, and I want those people to be held accountable. I'm not going to give this up. I voted for every comprehensive immigration bill that's ever come out of the United States Senate. It is impossible for me to sit down with Dick Durbin and negotiate any solution to people already here, because if you legalize one person until you fix this problem, you're going to have a human tsunami. It will be another signal there, come to America, welcome. Don't ask us, we're politicians. Ask these people over here what has happened, why have they lost control of the border, and they will tell you.
Senator Cruz. I have a question for Senator Tillis and Senator Johnson about the question really briefly.
Go for it. Do it.
All right, Senator Johnson, Biden's transition team alleged the Trump admin delayed action on the migrant surge for months, even though it was warned about the problems with DHS and HHS. Johnson was the previous chair of the Senate Homeland Security Committee. Did he hear about this warning, and should Trump not assume some responsibility for the crisis?
I missed the first part of your question.
Sure. Biden's transition team alleged the Trump admin delayed action on the migrant surge for months, even though it was warned. So my question is, did he
Lindsay, give me my graph.
Did he hear about this warning, and should Trump not assume some responsibility for the crisis?
Why don't you ask the people who did the briefing?
Yeah, so let me, first of all, I really don't even understand the premise of your question. I've been working on this chart for a couple years. It shows cause and effect. I will send it to all of your offices. And again, the fact of the matter is yes, there's a huge surge for a number of reasons. Deferred action on childhood arrivals. You had the Flores reinterpretation where it applied to not only unaccompanied children, but accompanied children. There are a number of things that caused this crisis, and then President Trump and his administration fixed the problem. That's the point we're trying to make. And rather than following those policies where we basically had this under control so we could take the next step, we were controlling the border, we could finish the fence. We were so close taking that first step of having secure borders so we could address comprehensive immigration reform. Instead, President Biden ignored the advice of professionals, blew up all of these reforms, and now we've got this crisis, which is far worse today than it was even in 2019. We've had a day of over 6,000 people. 6,000 people. That's more than a caravan. That's a large caravan per day. How do you handle that? Put yourself in the men and women's shoes here that have to deal with this. How do you handle 6,000 people a day? Come on, it's a crisis.
Hold up a second. You can finish. Hold up.
Is it now time to pursue a more comprehensive? I know you're co-sponsoring the Secure and Protect Act.
Yeah.
If you think we should do a more comprehensive immigration reform.
Well, absolutely, but the table stakes are here. Exactly what Lindsay said. The reason that President Trump did have a crisis, to the first question asked, created by a court decision, he fixed it. Well, we just had a meeting just last week with Democrat members. Lindsay and I were there and other members. And we said, if you want to talk about immigration reform, we're prepared to. We have a crisis at the border. We have to understand, again, listening to what the folks on the ground are telling us and making sure that we have policies that secure this border. You cannot possibly have a credible immigration reform proposal in Congress until you fix this crisis down here.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Senator, hold on a second. Senator Cruz and I are enormously grateful to all of our colleagues who came down here with us about 18 hours ago, and you've heard their remarks and answered your questions. Many of them have to catch an airplane to leave, but some of them may be able to hang around, so you might be able to catch them on a one-to-one basis. But thank you all for coming.
You just heard a few words from 17 senators here. Let's see if we can get them a few words. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Appreciate it. Thanks for fighting for the border. Any closing words as we wrap up today?
Talk to the border agents. They'll tell you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You know, that's one of the messages we have heard here from time and time again, to talk to the border agents, talk to Joe Biden and the administration, but of what they are doing is, quite honestly, they're not doing anything. As we've heard time and time again here today, that Trump had this border crisis under control, the illegal immigration under control, and it wasn't until some of the steps that the Biden administration took to ramp some of that back is when we saw a lot of the problems escalate. Let me step back. You've got John Cornyn. I'm looking for Ted Cruz at this point. I don't see him. He might have went on down. Oh, there he is. He just walked on down below. An amazing, the stories that you're hearing about these immigrants traveling and getting over here and pretty much battling all types of terrain conditions to get to this country, and then be put in facilities and tents that are made for 200 people but have 2,000 people in them. It's really disturbing, and hopefully we can get some answers, and hopefully we can move forward and be able to have comprehensive immigration reform and be able to secure a border. That was one of the things we heard earlier about securing the border. He talked about the wall and how when the wall was basically stopped construction and the implications from that. I've got Senator Lindsey Graham right over there. I'm going to wait till he wraps up with another network, and I want to see if I can get a few moments with him as well, because he is just, you can see the passion in a lot of these senators in terms of immigration and what they saw today. I mean, we heard reports of earlier today, they saw a dead body floating in the Rio Grande River, and this just really paints the picture of how desperate the situation here is on the southern border. So anyway, thanks for joining us. If you're just now tuning in, we appreciate it.
Border Patrol about the situation.
Thank you very much for what you do. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Thank you. There we go. Lindsey Graham getting back to the bus. I saw a lot of passion. Let's go ahead and let's here real quickly. I want to wrap up this broadcast and be able to deliver a shot that will, thank you, that will pretty much summarize why we're here and the importance. Let's follow. Okay, let's go on down here. All right, so we've got Ted Cruz down here. We're going to try to stay off to the side. All right. There it is, folks. That's the Rio Grande River. That is the border that separates Texas, the United States of America, to Mexico. That is taking the lives of hundreds of people crossing the border. The time is to stop it and allow our country to do its job and send a message to immigrants coming from all around Central America and Mexico that now is the time to stop. Do not come. And that's one of the messages they wanted to send earlier today. They wanted Biden to deliver that message because there's been a really kind of a mixed message that when you see shirts that say Biden, please let us in. All right. Also, as a reminder, our good partner in all of this is MyPillow.com. And there's no better way right now as a consumer in the greatest country in the world to go to that website, MyPillow.com, and shop. Because when you do, a portion of those proceeds goes right here to Right Side Broadcasting Network and helps us do and bring all these amazing stories that's happening in the news cycle today. So go in there and put in the promo code RSBN at checkout, and you'll get up to 66% off your order there. But what an eye-opener of the day. What a beautiful backdrop we have here. I just wish that the circumstances were a little different why we were here. Yes, go ahead. I'm going to let the news trooper goes. All right. Anyway, guys, if you've been with us the last 2 hours or so, this is a very fluid situation. We got here, we set up, we've had to move several times, but that is the nature of the business. But anyway, what I was getting back to tell you is that there's a crisis here on the border, and they have done an amazing job of trying to show that to the American people. And the message was, Biden, come down here. Harris, come down here and see for yourself and try to do some sensible immigration reform to stop the lives that are being lost along the border here. And we are all for, we're a nation that was basically founded by legal immigration. This country was built by immigrants from around the world, and that's certainly something that we want to continue. That's something that's that needs to continue, but we do need to put a stop to the bleeding here of all of that. But anyway, there's the backdrop. We've got Senator Ted Cruz just over there, and I'm just going to back up over here, and we'll see for a few minutes if we're able to get a few words with him. Perhaps we can. We'll kind of just wait for these gentlemen to we've got kind of all kinds of media here, as you can imagine. Maybe let's just walk over there, Miles. I don't want to get in their shot there. Yes. All right, let's see if he's doing with someone there, but we'll stand by and see if we can have a few minutes with him. I did think it was very interesting how some of the media here asked some very pointed questions. It seemed like it was almost like they were undermining the intensity of the situation here, and you saw some of the kickback that Lindsey Graham and others responded to those questions, because it seems like, why are you asking us? Go ask Biden, go ask these Border Patrol agents what they see. And I thought it was very interesting how we had different situations develop from a journalistic standpoint in the way that they address these senators here. We're going to be on standby here because we want to hope we get a few minutes with Senator Ted Cruz as he wraps up an interview here. We do want to remind you, programming note, side note, we will be up at the MyPillow headquarters in Minnesota come Monday. This Monday, Liz Willis and myself will be there to kick off a series called Made in America, showcasing products that are made right here in the good old states. So join us there as we'll show you exactly how these pillows are made from the start to finish, and plus we're putting a very special message in some of those pillows for our YouTube subscribers, so to say thank you. So we appreciate that as well. So tune in on Monday for a special My Pillow behind the scenes. All right, so let's see. We're going to do a kind of a transition here as we do some technical stuff, making sure that everything. Oh, we're going to change the batteries in our camera. We get it good. All right, we might do a quick battery change, guys, in this camera. We've been going for a while now. I want to make sure that we don't run out of juice here. Let's see. We need to switch the batteries. We good? Okay, it's in the new live view. All right. And where's that? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn the mic over to Miles. I'm going to go get the battery. I'll be right back. There you go.
All right, y'all. Hope you enjoyed this press conference. Right now we're waiting on Senator Ted Cruz. We're gonna see if he can get us an interview real quick before he heads off. Really hoping that we can pull this one off, and we appreciate y'all sticking around. Just want to remind y'all we are mostly viewer supported. If you want to go down to rsbnetwork.com/donate, we greatly appreciate that. It helps us get here, helps us get to many of these events that, you know, most of the time these big networks really don't show. We love doing this. This is a passion of ours. I mean, we're in a small studio in Alabama. Actually, Senator Tuberville's here to represent us in this case that we really do not, you know, we are honestly really disappointed in the Biden administration for. But, you know, unfortunately we're here, and yeah, but we love to see the support from these senators. Great lineup. I loved the press conference, and yeah, just want to thank you guys for sticking around, and here's Brian.
All right, so we do a quick battery swap out to make sure that we don't lose power. And, you know, it's one of the things about RSBN is we keep this whole broadcast very organic as it develops, and that's one of the things I think that you guys like us so much, because we are very transparent to what we do in this network. So anyway, we're going to do a battery swap out here, so stand by. Fresh batteries and a fresh set of questions. If you're just now joining us, we have been at the border here in Mission, Texas, along the Rio Grande River, and where Ted Cruz and John Cornyn have led a delegation of 17 U.S. senators to tour the U.S. border. Earlier today, they visited Donna, Texas, a holding facility for immigrant children. They've done that. Now earlier today, Ted Cruz was along the border here as well, and then today he's here. So hopefully we can get a few minutes with him. And this is one of the things that have been talked about during the Trump administration was the border and the kids in cages, and we have addressed all of that. And he was blamed for putting kids in cages. And it's interesting that when they show the images of these kids in cages, that was during the time under the Obama administration as well. So there's so much misinformation that's out there in regards to immigration and who's responsible for all of this. And it seemed like that was some of the questions that he was able. They took about 5 questions from the press, and it seemed like every one of the questions wanted to place blame somewhere as far as who's to blame of all of this. I just find it interesting how the media here, knowing that they don't want to accept responsibility for what's going on here right now. I think it's very interesting in regards to that. And there's a gentleman that might be on screen right now that asked a very jaded question, and I heard Lindsey Graham comment to him like, well, you tell me, what kind of question is that? I just think sometimes the media, and we've seen this over a period of time, especially during the Trump administration, is they want to blame everything on Donald J. Trump for all the problems that exist today. And quite honestly, this is not one of them. This is a Joe Biden administration problem. The border, they had a thing where it said, look, we fixed the problems. The illegal immigrants, the numbers were down. The number of children, unaccompanied children, were down. that was fixed. And now, since the policies have been rolled back some, we are now back to dealing with all of this. So we'll see if we can't get... We can go over here. See if we can get a few words. May I have a few words with you? Brightside Broadcasting. Right, yeah, Brightside Broadcasting Network. We're out of Auburn, Alabama. We're live right now on the air. We just wanted to get your comments on the press conference today. And as a a public safety officer, you deal with some of this stuff every day, and you've seen some incredible stories of people trying to come to this country. Yeah, go ahead. So what are your thoughts on what's going on, and are we making any progress to ensure these people that come over are safe, and that the workers like yourself are safe as well?
Right. So we're doing the best we can with the assets that we have to ensure border security, ensure public safety for the communities and the citizens of the state of Texas.
Let's talk about the communities. I wanted to ask a question earlier. You're out in the community. What is the average guy that lives here? What do they think about what's going on? Are they seeing an increase in crime in their area at all, or just people randomly that might be in their districts, shopping areas that might cause a potential problem?
Crossings, and that's been seen by citizens in communities, as well as an increase in criminal activity. When you have that element, there's also the element of criminal activity as well, which go hand in hand. You have the organizations from Mexico that are exploiting the current situation.
Yeah. What can people do that are watching us from home right now? They feel like, I want to help out on the border. What can the average American do that might be watching us in Nebraska and the Midwest that may not be right down here in Texas?
We ask that they support what we're doing as far as law enforcement, and support law enforcement across the state of Texas. We're trying to ensure safety for them, and our goal is to ensure public safety for them.
And let's just make perfectly clear, we are catching the bad guys, right? The ones that you do catch that are criminals. We are taking them into custody. We're not releasing those guys either, are we?
As far as a state agency, we're into contact with those individuals. Yes, we do take the proper enforcement action. We do file the necessary charges on those criminals and take the appropriate laws in place.
Well, we appreciate your service. We really do. We know it's such a draining situation for you guys out here working long hours, and we certainly appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. And we said before, we support law enforcement. We support all the men and women that are trying to make our borders and our city secure, and he's just a great example. Ted's over there doing another interview. All right, we're back. We just working on some technical issues here with some audio to make sure we get the best audio possible. You got to look. There's a live look right here, the Rio Grande River, right here on the just outside of McAllen, Texas. And you hear these stories, and every one of those senators shared their thoughts on what they saw over the last 12 hours covering the border. And then it really brings it home to hear these stories, and each one of those guys said, we need the media to go into these holding facilities to show exactly what's been going on. Hey, if you want more information about our, we've got a lot of things going on right now with a new app that's coming out here really any day now that's going to have a lot of extra content on it. You can certainly go to our website, RSBN Network, rsbnetwork.com. That's rsbnetwork.com, and stay up to date to what's going on, because this app is going to have expanded programming. We've got some new shows that we're bringing on across our platforms, and of course you can find us right here on YouTube. Perhaps you're watching us on YouTube, you're watching us on Facebook. Thank you. Please share this broadcast. This is just the beginning for us as far as covering the border. We've got some ideas to really help shine a light on what's going on in this country and really around the world, because all of this starts from countries like Guatemala and El Salvador and Honduras, all Central America. It starts there. And we need to address the problems that helps eliminate all of this illegal immigration, because the border is simply overloaded and these border agents are overworked, and it's just a situation that needs to be addressed. And I think that obviously under the Trump administration, he had his hand on it. And of course, for political reasons, I believe that the Biden administration has really taken an opportunity to politicize this for future gains. And, you know, if you think for one second that the conveyor belt of illegal immigration will not make it to your city, then you're mistaken, because that's exactly what it is. And cities like Dallas, other cities around the country will now experience an influx of immigration into their areas that we have never likely seen before. So if you have a civic center, and we talked about this, there's military bases that are now being used to house. We're going to switch out some audio real quickly. Just stand by. All right, we're back. You know what? This is what's called live production here on the fly. We're hoping to get a few words with Senator Ted Cruz here to talk about the situation. You've got to look right now at, it's a beautiful day here. It's sunny, 90s, which is, I was really surprised at this early in the season. We've already got temperatures in the 90s here in South Texas, but it seems like that's where we're at right now. All right, hopefully that Senator Cruz is going to wrap up his interview, and we'll get to him in just a second. Meanwhile, you can go to our Facebook page. You can like us on Facebook, Instagram, and of course follow us on YouTube as well. You can follow me at Brian Glenn TV across the board. There's Brian Glenn TV, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Please, and you can follow me there, and I'll also keep you up to date on what's going on in the world of right side broadcasting. All right, I'm going to turn... Oh man, it's been a long day, but we're glad that you're still with us. Dealing with some audio issues right now, but hopefully that you're hearing us okay. Good. All right, so also let us know where you're watching us from. I always like to see the reach of Right Side Broadcasting, as you know, we've got viewers from around the world, and please tag where you're watching us from. And also, you know, if you live in the state of Texas, if you live in Arizona, California, let us know what is some of your biggest concerns when it comes to immigration, when it comes to where you live. I know my residency is here in Texas, and it's a big issue. I mean, we heard earlier, you have law enforcement agencies that have seen an increasing crime in some of these communities. Communities are concerned about the crime going up due to illegal activity and gangs and things like that coming into our country. So it affects everyone, not just you know, the families that are coming in through illegal immigration. It also affects the families that live here. We've got an incredible amount of bugs that Miles and I are able to try to dodge at this point. We've got a lot of gnats that are flying around us, so I apologize for swatting away bugs while we wait for Senator Cruz to come up. Hopefully he'll wrap it up there, and we'll be able to have a few minutes with him, which would be nice. All right, so this is what we're going to do while we wait for Senator Cruz to come over here. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up from here. When we get an interview with him, we will upload that separately so you guys can see that. But certainly, we don't know how long this will last, and I certainly don't want everyone to just wait around for that. So we will wrap that up. And in closing, we appreciate your viewership. We appreciate your support. Of course, go to our website, rsbnetwork.com/donate, and do what you can to help us continue fighting for conservative values. From Mission, Texas, Brian Glenn, Right Side Broadcasting Network. Until next time, goodbye and God bless.
News Network, we show the crowd, we show the energy, we show the enthusiasm, we interview people, we show the smiles on everyone's faces as they fill into one of these venues to support their president, to support their values, their beliefs, their flag, their country. We show all of that to you. We bring it right up to you and make it personal, as if you're with us here experiencing it for yourself. This is one of the things that we pride ourselves in doing, is showing you on the ground experience of how people are seeing it and experiencing it for themselves. Just the energy, it's so electric and exciting. People recognize us everywhere we go. We have to stop and take photos. There are thousands of people that come up to us after each event and ask us to keep fighting for them, keep showing the truth. They thank us. They thank us for giving them a voice, because nobody else will give them a voice. Instead, they take who they really are and turn them into something that they're not. They try to say that these are white supremacist gatherings and they're neo-Nazis. They spin all these false narratives, but in reality, there are Filipinos, there are Thai people, they're Chinese, they're Brazilian, they're Cubans, they're Africans, they're Jamaicans, they're Americans. There are people from all over the world, to be honest with you. Everybody supports this president. Everybody supports American ideals of liberty, truth, freedom. We can't thank you enough for supporting us at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We are almost entirely viewer supported. This isn't just our network, it's your network. This is a network for the people. This is a network that's about truth, delivering the truth, showing what's actually happening in the world from the perspective of the average person. We don't take money from big corporations. We don't take money from billionaires and big donors. We are all about the people. We're an independent media corporation. Your donations keep us, so support Right Side Broadcasting. Go to our website, go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. Send your checks to our physical address or donate via Super Chat during our live streams. God bless you and thank you for supporting Right Side Broadcasting Network.